The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1626 Well of Life. Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi are the best under Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen is a man who cherishes old times, and the resources of the Star Domain Arc are tilted towards his friends and comrades. Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi usually get the most meditation resources, and their mechas are also the best. However, even Kile and Miyamoto Kenichi fought so hard. It can be seen that the strength of the lizard warriors is indeed very strong. According to Xia Xingchen's estimation, the combat effectiveness of ordinary lizard warriors is equivalent to the legendary nebula level to the planetary level. If there were one or two, Xia Xingchen would easily send them away. But there are tens of thousands of lizard warriors, rushing over like a tide. Because their spiritual bodies are indestructible, they can escape back to their home planet to resurrect. Therefore, these warriors are fearless and fight desperately. Even Xia Xingchen feels very difficult. The mecha masters of the Star Domain Arc have rushed to the vicinity of the Void Gate and fought hand to hand with the lizard warriors. As Xia Xingchen expected, the combat effectiveness of the lizard warriors is generally above the legendary level. The 5 armies under Xia Xingchen are already the strongest fighting force of mankind. However, except for the Liang clan, the remaining 4 legions are no match for the lizard clan. Countless mechas were destroyed and exploded in the starry sky. Since its establishment, the 5 mecha corps of the Star Domain Arc have never suffered such a huge loss. Seeing the casualty figures sent by Claude, Xia Xingchen felt his heart bleeding. Kill. Xia Xingchen's eyes were red. The only thing he could do now was to rush into the lizard clan's position and kill as many enemies as possible. Although the 5 mecha corps under Xia Xingchen suffered heavy losses, they could still barely resist the lizard clan's front. But on the side of the Imperial Army, there were too few legendary mecha divisions. The lizard clan warriors broke into the position, like a tiger into a flock of sheep. One lizard clan warrior could destroy hundreds of mechas, and no one could stop it. Seeing the lizard clan warriors killing so crazily, the Imperial Army's mecha divisions were even more panicked, and soon they were defeated, and fled towards Xia Xingchen. However, the lizard warriors pursued them relentlessly, rushed directly into the atmosphere of Xia Xingchen, entered the city, and started a massacre, slaughtering civilians. In the eyes of the lizards, all humans are the same. There is no distinction between civilians and warriors. Moreover, they do not have the moral constraints of humans. The lizards only believe in one sentence: the strong prey on the weak. Fortunately, most of the lizard warriors were blocked near the Void Gate by Xia Xingchen and his mecha army, and only a few rushed to Xia Xingchen. When the wealthy families on Xia Xingchen saw that the situation was not good, the legendary mecha masters who lived in seclusion rushed to fight, and it took a lot of effort to surround and kill these scattered lizard warriors. Therefore, there were not too many casualties among the civilians. Otherwise, with the strength of the lizard warriors, even if there was only one, it would be easy to slaughter the entire city and kill all the people in the city. The lizards have strong mental power and can use direct detection of human brain waves. Even if ordinary people hide, they will be easily found and killed by the lizard warriors. On this side, the Imperial Army was defeated by the lizards. On the other side, the Northern Army was not feeling well either. Under the order of General Vitus, the Northern Army had temporarily retreated. However, the lizard tribe didn't care whether they were the Imperial Army or the Northern Army. As long as they were human, they would attack them crazily. General, these lizard tribes are too powerful. We can't stand it anymore. Why don't we retreat for the time being? Anyway, even if the lizard tribes attack, they will attack Xia Xingchen first. We can retreat to Chang'an region, or at worst, retreat to the north. An adjutant hurriedly walked to General Vitus, looking anxious. Retreat? General Vitus's handsome face showed a bitterness. He shook his head slowly, looked at the adjutant with deep blue eyes, and whispered, "Don't you understand? This is no longer a war between the North and the Empire. It's a war between humans and the lizards. Retreat? That's right. We can retreat to the north, to Siberia. But if Xia Xingchen is occupied by the lizards, Xia Xingchen and his men will be wiped out. What if the lizards fight to Siberia? The adjutant was shocked and speechless. He really didn't think so far ahead. All northern troops listen to orders. Support Xia Xingchen at all costs. Support the Imperial Army. Support Xia Xingchen. We are human. This is our war. Our northern soldiers will never retreat even a step. Fight for humanity. General Vitus shouted in a deep voice. Fight for humanity. The northern soldiers heard the voice of General Vitus on the radio, and they were all excited, and tears filled their eyes. They raised their hands and shouted loudly. The combat effectiveness of the Northern Army is much higher than that of the Imperial Army. Moreover, the Mecha divisions of the North were very brave and fearless. The Northern Army joined the battle, helping Xia Xingchen to share a lot of pressure, and giving him some breathing space. It's the Northern Army. They actually started to attack the lizard tribe. It's General Vitus. He let go of his hatred, and chose to fight for humans. Great wisdom. General Vitus is indeed a rare general. The sudden attack of the Northern Army surprised many people. However, this is good news. Vitus Xia Xingchen felt a strong sense of powerlessness in the face of countless lizard tribe warriors. However, the Northern Army's participation in the battle gave him a shock. Facing the enemy, humans are still on the same front. As long as humans are united, they are like a piece of iron. The spirits are afraid of human unity, so they spend a lot of energy to provoke civil war and try to divide humans from within. However, at the last moment, we humans united again, stood together, and fought for humans together. This should be something that the spirits did not expect. Xia Xingchen's heart rekindled the fire of hope and shouted loudly, "Fight for humans." The home planet of the lizards. Queen Melissa sat on the throne in front of the temple, looking up, her eyes piercing through the black fog, staring at the war on the other side of the starry sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Above the home planet, many translucent spirits flew in, entered the temple, and flew to a blue pool behind the throne. This pool is the treasure of the lizards, the well of life. As long as the spirit body is not destroyed, after they enter the well of life, their bodies will soon recover and regain their combat effectiveness. Of course, the energy consumed to activate the well of life is also very amazing. Naked lizard warriors crawled out of the well of life one by one. Their bodies had just recovered and were still very tender. There was a lot of blue gel mucus on their skin. After waiting for a while, the mucus solidified and turned into a layer of hard armor. After kneeling and thanking Queen Melissa, these lizard warriors stepped on the star beasts again and flew towards the gate of the void. Endless life, eternal and immortal. This is the real horror of the lizard tribe. Chapter 1627, Savage Sky War Elephant. Humans are just primitive beings with low technology. I thought my warriors would crush them and destroy them directly. I didn't expect that they would resist and the bodies of so many warriors would be destroyed. Queen Melissa looked up at the sky and saw translucent spirit bodies flying down like raindrops. Her pretty face showed a deep shock. The life form of the lizards is special. The body is just a container, and the spirit body is the source of their life. When they are promoted to the level of heavenly beings, they will completely abandon their bodies and survive in the form of spirit bodies, becoming the celestial beings of the spirit race. The lizards are not at the level of heavenly beings. Their bodies are destroyed, and their spirit bodies cannot survive for a long time. They must rely on the well of life. Activating the well of life requires a lot of spiritual energy. Even Queen Melissa's pretty face turned pale, and she felt very distressed. Why are humans so difficult? Queen Melissa concentrated her eyes and looked at the other side of the starry sky. The human mecha master was fighting with the lizard warriors in the starry sky. A huge dark golden mecha, holding a dark golden double helix spear in its hand, galloped across the battlefield, unstoppable. Wherever the spear shadow passed, the lizard warriors fell one after another, and their spirits flew out in panic. However, a crystal pyramid flew out of this mecha, emitting white light, imprisoning the spirit. What? Queen Melissa's heart trembled. He should be the strongest among humans. He actually has the ability to imprison spirits. In other words, many warriors of our tribe have been captured and imprisoned by him. A strong murderous aura surged from Queen Melissa's golden vertical pupils. If this person is not eliminated, our tribe will suffer heavy losses. Queen Melissa was furious, punched the throne with a fist, and shouted, "Wooloo! Your Majesty, what do you want?" A lizard woman with a charming figure and silver scales all over her body came over, knelt in front of Queen Melissa, and said respectfully, "The lizard tribe is a matriarchal society. Women's mental power is naturally stronger than men. Therefore, the strong men of the lizard tribe are basically women. Wooloo is one of the strongest of the lizards. She is only one step away from evolving into a celestial being. She is the right-hand man of Queen Melissa. Wooloo, I will give you the Star Beast Savage Sky War Elephant. Go and kill this powerful human." Queen Melissa said. Saving Sky War Elephant? Wooloo's eyes burned, and shock appeared on her delicate face. The lizards are born with strong mental power, and their fighting methods are different from other races. They mainly enslave the star beasts and use their power to fight. The lizards have 10 top star beasts, and Savage Sky War Elephant is one of them. Savage Sky War Elephant has long been extinct. It is 1,000 meters tall, and can survive in space. It is extremely powerful, and is a treasure of the lizards. Your Majesty, it's just a human. Why use Savage Sky War Elephant? Wooloo's face was full of disdain. This powerful human is extraordinary. He was able to imprison and capture the spirit of our race. I asked you to use the Savage Sky War Elephant to kill this powerful human quickly. Otherwise, every time we delay, our warriors will be imprisoned and suffer heavy losses. Queen Melissa did not think that this powerful human would be a match for Wooloo, who enslaved the Savage Sky War Elephant. She just wanted to make a quick decision and minimize the losses. Yes, sir. Wooloo was delighted and thanked him. A few minutes later, the earth shook, a mountain collapsed, and the Savage Sky War Elephant woke up from its slumber. Wooloo stood on the head of the giant elephant, and his mental power penetrated into its brain, completely controlling it. Boom. The Savage Sky War Elephant's body was covered with a layer of heavy black armor, and its forelegs were thick, like giant pillars. Under its mouth was a long silver tusk, which was extremely sharp, and was its main weapon. The Savage Sky War Elephant moved its hooves, and its huge body slowly flew up, leaving the lizard tribe's home planet, and flying towards the Void Gate. It's the Savage Sky War Elephant. What? Your Majesty actually dispatched the Savage Sky War Elephant to deal with humans. You actually deployed the 10 top star beasts. The lizard warriors were shocked when they saw the Savage Sky War Elephant flying over. Warriors, follow me to fight. Wooloo's powerful mental power spread, and the voice reached the minds of every lizard warrior. The Savage Sky War Elephant, invincible in the starry sky. The lizard warriors' eyes were red, their faces were full of fanaticism, and they followed the Savage Sky War Elephant and rushed into the human position. What? An elephant? An elephant that can survive in the starry sky? Or 1,000 meters high? It's so spectacular. It's about the same size as a large starship. The human mecha master saw a giant elephant-like creature emerge from the black fog, and their faces were all shocked. Such a scene has exceeded the cognition of ordinary people. In the research institute on Xiaonian Star, scientists were all surprised when they saw the 1,000-meter-long elephant in the starry sky. The universe is full of wonders. Humans know too little about the universe. We are too small, too ignorant. Above the head of the Savage Sky War Elephant, Wooloo's pair of golden eyes searched for the figure of the human warrior on the battlefield. Found it. Wooloo immediately saw that the human warrior, who was about 100,000 meters away from him, was also watching him. Human warrior, tremble in front of the power of the Savage Sky War Elephant. Destroy it. Wooloo sent out a mental wave and controlled the Savage Sky War Elephant to stomp forward. Boom boom boom. Every time the Savage Sky War Elephant landed, a terrifying energy wave spread out. A human mecha master was unable to dodge and was affected, and the mecha immediately exploded and turned into a group of fireballs. Come for me. Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. He immediately flew back from the battlefield and came to an empty starry sky. The giant elephant in front of him exudes terrifying energy fluctuations. There will be a fierce battle soon. Xia Xingchen came here in advance to avoid harming other human mecha masters. Human, you can't escape. Wooloo mistakenly thought that Xia Xingchen wanted to escape, and the disdain on his face became even stronger. Escape. Xia Xingchen shook his head slowly, staring at Wooloo. This is the Milky Way. It's our human home. I won't escape. I must drive you invaders out of our home. You are so shameless. Wu Lu sneered and controlled the savage sky war elephant to the empty starry sky, less than 10,000 meters away from Xia Xingchen. Saving sky war elephant, crush him. Wu Lu shouted in a low voice, and the savage sky war elephant suddenly ran in big strides. The space was shaking with every step it took, and the momentum was amazing. At the same time, the savage sky war elephant's two huge tusks waved, drawing a series of bright light and shadows, as if cutting the dark starry sky into pieces. Chapter 1628 A blow that burns life. What a terrifying power. Xia Xingchen was in the cockpit of the beast god Mecha, and saw the 1,000-meter high savage sky war elephant rushing towards him, and his heart was chilled. The savage sky war elephant was too huge, or 1,000 meters high, even bigger than a large starship, and its footsteps broke through the stars, rushing around, and its might was extremely terrifying. Xia Xingchen knew that this was the true strength of the lizard tribe. The might emanating from the savage sky war elephant alone was more terrifying than Onrei driving the blood demon Mecha. Weak human. Above the savage sky war elephant, the lizard woman Wu Lu smiled coldly. In her eyes, this human warrior was already a corpse. On the home planet of the lizards, Melissa, the queen of the lizards, was also staring at the battlefield, smiling slightly. This human warrior will definitely die. Wu Lu enslaved the savage sky war elephant, which is one of the strongest forces of our tribe. No one can stop it under the heavens. Starry sky barrier, elemental armor, spiral open the sky. Facing the attack of the savage sky war elephant, Xia Xingchen did not dare to neglect it, and shouted 3 times in succession. But the universe suddenly shook, and pieces of starlight splashed down like water waves. In just a moment, the water-like starry sky barrier was sprinkled all over the space, layer by layer, and there were thousands of layers. Behind the starry sky barrier, the beast god Mecha's body shone brightly, turning into a bright star. In its hand, a huge dark golden drill was condensed, humming and turning, bombarding the direction of the savage sky war elephant. Boom. The starry sky barrier dissipated, the elemental armor on the beast god Mecha dissipated, and the beast god Mecha also flew backwards, like a meteor, flying for tens of thousands of meters before barely stopping. However, the savage sky war elephant also stopped in place, raised its head and roared. One of its silver tusks was broken, and green blood gushed out of the wound, making a mournful cry. What? Wu Lu was shocked. How is it possible? Queen Melissa couldn't help but scream when she saw this scene. You know, the power of the savage sky war elephant is very terrifying, not to mention that under Wu Lu's control, it is absolutely invincible below the heavenly man. Even the heavenly man, some heavenly man who are not good at fighting, may not be the opponent of the savage sky war elephant. This human is so strong. Queen Melissa had a flash of worry in her mind. Human. You dare to hurt the savage sky war elephant. Damn it, I want your life to pay. Wu Lu saw that the savage sky war elephant was injured, and she felt distressed. There is only one savage sky war elephant in the entire lizard tribe. She did not fight well, and she will definitely be punished by the queen when she returns. For now, the only way to save some face is to kill this human warrior immediately. Nonsense. This is a life and death war. You come to kill me, so I can't hurt you? Xia Xingchen's face flushed, and some blood foam came out of the corners of his mouth. He was seriously injured when he blocked the attack of the savage sky war elephant. What made Xia Xingchen even more angry was the condescending attitude of the lizard tribe. What kind of words are these? You come to invade humans, so can't I hurt you? There is no such reason in the world. Damn human, you dare to refute. Die obediently. Savage sky trampling. Wu Lu's consciousness echoed, and the savage sky war elephant rushed over again. Every step it took, stepping out of the void, burst out with amazing power. Even the space could not support it, and countless fine spider web patterns appeared. This is one of the savage sky war elephant's killer moves, saving sky trampling. The most commonly used laser weapon for human mechas is essentially a vibration. Every step the savage sky war elephant took triggered another kind of vibration, bursting out with terrifying energy, comparable to a nuclear bomb explosion. Not good. Xia Xingchen's face changed drastically. Although he easily killed Onrei in the battle, his mental power was also consumed by 30% to 40%. Later, Xia Xingchen fought with the lizard warriors in the starry sky, and his mental power was consumed by another 30%. Now, Xia Xingchen's mental power is only 1/3 of the total. What's more, the savage sky war elephant is terrifying. Even if Xia Xingchen is in his prime, he may not be its opponent. There is no way. The source of faith. Xia Xingchen gritted his teeth, and a crystal pyramid flew out of his head. The power of faith was continuously transformed into pure mental power and poured into his mind to make up for the consumed mental power. This was the first time that Xia Xingchen publicly revealed the source of faith. However, he was already in a desperate situation and there was really no other way. Elemental torrent. Xia Xingchen transformed his mental power into elemental energy and bombarded the savage sky war elephant. The savage sky war elephant was covered with hard black armor, and its defense was amazing, but it could not withstand the attack of the elemental torrent and cried again. Damn it. How could he still have the strength to launch such a terrifying attack? Wulu originally thought that Xia Xingchen was at the end of his strength, but he didn't expect that the attack he launched would be so terrifying. He was trembling for a moment. Let's fight. The source of faith. All faith transformation. Xia Xingchen was shocked to see that his elemental torrent caused little damage to the savage sky war elephant, and exclaimed, "This beast's skin is too thick. I can only burn all my strength and fight to the death." Xia Xingchen knew very well that if he couldn't defeat the savage sky war elephant, then the war between humans and the lizards would inevitably fail. The lizards were different from Andre. Andre was a human after all. Although he was cruel, he could not exterminate humans. The purpose of the lizards was to exterminate humans from the beginning. Spiral. The huge dark golden spiral drill head condensed in the hands of the beast god Mecha again. Under the urging of the mental power, the drill head spun wildly, making a deafening roar. The space was stirred by the drill head, and a large black vortex appeared in front of it. The momentum was just like a black hole. Open the sky. With the infusion of the spiritual power of the source of faith, Xia Xingchen's body flashed with dazzling light, and the whole person was shrouded in a ball of light, as if he were a god. With Xia Xingchen's roar, his momentum climbed to the peak state, and the whole person turned into a giant standing upright. The drill in his hand blasted towards the chest of the savage sky war elephant. Not good. Wulu's face changed drastically. She felt a strong sense of crisis. But the savage sky war elephant was huge, and it was too late to dodge. Fight. Wulu bit her silver teeth and stepped on it suddenly. The savage sky giant elephant also stepped on the spot. Crack, crack, crack. With a strong vibration, a beam of energy light shot up into the sky. From a distance on Shinewan Star, it looked like a sharp spear of light piercing the sky. Boom. Xia Xingchen drove the beast god Mecha and collided fiercely with the savage sky war elephant. With a loud bang, the sky and the earth changed color. A few seconds later, 30,000 meters behind the savage sky war elephant, the beast god Mecha was bathed in green blood, with many broken organs and flesh hanging on the dark gold drill in its hand, standing quietly in the starry sky. Chapter 1629, Sharing Hardships, Life, and Death Together. A terrifying hole with a diameter of hundreds of meters was opened in the chest of the savage sky war elephant, and minced meat and blood gushed out, unable to be stopped. Ang! The savage sky war elephant raised its head and let out a piercing cry. It staggered forward a few steps, and its huge body fell down with a bang, like a mountain collapsing. Savage sky war elephant, dead. The savage sky war elephant is dead. Wulu's pretty face was pale, and her eyes were full of disbelief. Wulu couldn't believe that the savage sky war elephant, which was famous for its vitality and defense, was killed by a human under her control. How could this be possible? Just as Wulu was shocked and stood there in a daze, a silver spiral drill head flew through the air. Boom. Wulu's body was smashed to pieces by the spiral drill and turned into a ball of blood mist. A translucent shadow flew out of the blood mist with a panicked face and flew towards the gate of the void. Faith cage. With a low shout, a crystal pyramid flew out and reached Wulu's head. White light shone down and absorbed her spirit body into the pyramid. Swish. The faith cage flashed and flew back to Xia Xingchen's hand. At this moment, Xia Xingchen's face was pale and his lips were black and blue. The fierce battle just now had exhausted all his mental power, even the mental power stored in the source of faith. The spiral flying drill that just killed Wooloo's physical body in the control of the faith cage to imprison Wooloo's spirit body were already Xia Xingchen's limits. Xia Xingchen's eyes went dark, and he almost fainted. There was still a lot of faith power stored in the faith cage, but it would take some time to transform it into mental power. But this is a battlefield, a killing field, where life and death are at stake. Where is there time to sit and meditate and restore mental power? The savage Sky War elephant was killed. How is it possible? That was a savage Sky War elephant. That human warrior is so terrifying. Wooloo's body was destroyed, and his spirit was imprisoned. When the lizardmen saw the savage Sky War elephant fall to the ground and die, everyone was shocked, and finally showed a hint of fear in their eyes. Damn it. They killed our savage Sky War elephant. Even Wooloo was defeated and captured. This time we really lost a lot. On the lizardman's home planet, Queen Melissa saw this scene, and she covered her chest tightly with her right hand, frowning. She felt her heart bleeding. Just a human. Just a tiny human. Queen Melissa gritted her teeth, stared at Xia Xingchen, and shouted angrily, "Wuzhen, Wuzu, Woozy. The three of you go and control the chaos-devouring star beast, the sea demon whale, and the green evil dragon bad to support the battlefield. The spiritual power of that human warrior has been exhausted. Go and kill him, and bring back Wooloo's spiritual body. I will punish her. Yes, sir." 3 hot and beautiful lizard women came over. They were all wearing silver close-fitting armor, and knelt in front of Queen Melissa. Boom. 3 star beasts that were no less than the size of the savage Sky War elephant flew out from the mother planet, passed through the void gate, and came to the battlefield. The chaos-devouring star beast, the sea demon whale, and the green evil dragon bird are all the top 10 star beasts of the lizard tribe, and their strength is not inferior to that of the savage Sky War elephant. Oh my god. After killing one, there are 3 more star beasts. What should I do? The human mecha masters were panicked, their eyes full of despair. The human warrior is over there. Warriors, follow me and kill him. Wuzhen controlled the chaos-devouring star beast, flew to the front, and shouted loudly, "Kill him! Kill him!" Xia Xingchen's killing of the savage sky giant elephant made the lizard clan warriors feel a little scared, and their morale dropped a lot. However, at the same time, 3 star beasts appeared on the battlefield, which made their morale soar, and their ugly faces were full of madness. Boom. Countless lizard clan warriors, led by the 3 star beasts, rushed towards Xia Xingchen. At this time, Xia Xingchen's mental power was completely exhausted. He could only sit cross-legged and meditate to recover his mental power, and he couldn't even move. Seeing the enemy's terrifying power, Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly, and his eyes were full of despair. "Master!" Kelissa shouted, and the elemental overlord Mecha turned into a stream of light, flying to Xia Xingchen first, and whispered, "Master has been protecting Kelissa. Now it's Kelissa's turn to protect Master." Master Miyamoto Kenichi also arrived soon after. He was seriously injured in the fierce battle just now, and his body was already covered in blood, but his eyes were stubborn, and he said in a deep voice, "Protecting the master is my duty. I, Miyamoto Kenichi, swear that, as long as I'm alive, I will not let these dirty lizards touch the master's hair." Keelan also drove a mecha over. Like Miyamoto Kenichi, he was covered in blood, and his mecha combat suit was tattered, but he still had a cynical smile on his face. Miyamoto, this kid, is usually tongue-tied, but he said all the beautiful words at the critical moment. What he said, is what I want to say. Boss, you just meditate with peace of mind. Leave this to us. Afterwards, Blood Demon 1, Iron Bear and others led the 5 armies to break through the siege and rushed to Xia Xingchen. The mechas formed a human wall and protected Xia Xingchen in the middle. "My lord, you have been protecting us. It's our turn to protect you." Everyone shouted loudly. "Thank you. Thank you." Xia Xingchen's nose was sour, and hot tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. In a blink of an eye, his face was full of tears. These were not tears of sadness, but tears of emotion. Only friends who have shared hardships and life and death can put life and death aside at this most critical moment and face these enemies that are like a tide and almost invincible. A bunch of garbage. Without that human warrior, you are all a bunch of garbage. Even if that human warrior recovers his combat effectiveness, so what? We have 3 star beasts. Lizard warriors, follow our footsteps and tear the enemy into pieces. Above the star beast, the 3 lizard women sneered continuously, and their beautiful faces revealed cruel murderous intent without any concealment. Boom. 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 The 3-headed star beast trampled over. Kirissa couldn't help it, and rushed forward first. A few seconds later, the elemental master mecha flew out backwards. Kirissa's mouth was bleeding, her face was pale, but her eyes were full of fighting spirit, so strong. Kirissa is no match. Except for Xia Xingchen, Kirissa was the strongest, and even she was no match. The other mecha masters were no match for them. You have to hold on even if you can't. Buy time for the boss, even for 1 second. Miyamoto Kenichi and Keelan also flew out backwards. Their injuries were more serious, and blood was coming out of their mouths and noses, but they were still shouting. The offensive of the lizard army was temporarily withstood by the mecha masters of the 5 major legions at the cost of their lives. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1630 The Return of the King. Xia Xingchen knew very well that the strength of the 5 legions under his command could not withstand the fierce attack of the lizard tribe. Seeing Kirissa, Keelan, Miyamoto Kenichi and others rushing forward without fear of death, being thrown out by energy waves again and again, and soon they were covered with wounds, Xia Xingchen was anxious. Hurry up. Recover quickly. Xia Xingchen's mental power recovered very quickly, but he still felt it was too slow. The veins on his forehead bulged, and his eyes were red. I once swore to protect my friends and relatives, but the enemy is too strong. I don't want to see my friends die in front of me, but I can't do anything. I really don't want to. On the battlefield, Keelan was the first to give up, and the energy and mental power of the mecha were completely exhausted. It's really difficult. Die. Wu Zhen shouted, and the chaos-devouring star beast was a huge wolf-like star beast, biting fiercely in the direction of Keelan. Boss, I'll go first. At the last moment, Keelan turned his head and smiled at Xia Xingchen, opened his lips, and said a few words silently. Xia Xingchen saw clearly that Keelan said thank you for your care all the time. No. Xia Xingchen stretched out his right hand in the direction of Keelan, but watched him being swallowed by the giant mouth of the star-eating beast, and could only shout in vain. Is Keelan dead? Swallowed by that star-eating beast. Keelan, Miyamoto Kenichi, Blood Demon Eye and others were all furious, and roared in despair. It's over. Keelan, one of Xia Xingchen's most capable men, died at the hands of the lizards. The others will soon be unable to bear it. Xia Xingchen will also be killed by the lizards. We are finished. On Shinyuan Star, countless people gathered in the square, and looked up at the fierce battle in the starry sky on the big screen. Seeing Keelan's death, countless people were disheartened. This will be the beginning of the defeat. If even Xia Xingchen is no match for the lizard tribe, then humanity will have no future. Where are the strong? Where are the strong of our human race? In the Elder's Court, Qin Baixuan looked desperate and murmured, in the Milky Way, there are trillions of humans. Is there no mecha master who can stand up and resist the enemy? It's really not enough to rely on Xia Xingchen alone. Just when everyone fell into despair and thought that Keelan was dead, a hearty laugh rang out in the starry sky. Whoosh! A huge mecha with a skull mark on its chest suddenly appeared in the center of the battlefield and stood in front of the Chaos Devourer. Behind this skeleton mecha, Keelan and his mecha were both unscathed. Keelan looked bewildered. Feeling the vast spiritual fluctuations coming from the skeleton mecha, he hurriedly said, "Thank you for saving me, Senior. If it weren't for you, I would have died just now. But who are you, Senior? What method did you use to save me from the mouth of the chaos-devouring beast?" The skeleton mecha turned around, and in the cockpit was an old man with white hair and beard. He was very tall, more than 2 meters tall, with strong bronze muscles, a black cloak on his back, and a majestic expression, quite like a king. Ah! Star Pirate King Roger, the strongest man in the human race. Star Pirate King Roger. That's right, it's him. Oh my god. The strongest man in the human race has disappeared for a long time, and he has appeared again. The Mecha Master in the starry sky immediately recognized that the old man driving the skeleton mecha was the legendary Star Pirate King Roger, and exclaimed, "Roger. It's Roger. The strongest man in the human race. He is willing to take action, and the human race is saved." On Shiny and Star, cheers broke out from the crowd. "Young man, although your strength is ordinary, you are brave and fearless. Not bad, not bad." Roger looked at Keelan, nodded slightly, and praised. "Senior, you are Roger." Keelan was completely confused. His mind was blank. He grew up listening to the legend of the Star Pirate King, and admired the reputation of the Star Pirate King since he was a child. Keelan never thought that he would be able to see Roger in person. Moreover, Roger praised him. "Xingchen, I rushed back immediately after receiving the message you sent, but I was still a step late." Roger turned his head apologetically, and his eyes fell on Xia Xingchen. "Master, you arrived at the right time." Xia Xingchen saw that the master's body had recovered and was no longer thin and haggard, and asked happily, "Master, has your strength recovered?" Roger smiled and said, "Recovered. Not only recovered, but also went a step further. I'm now a quasi-celestial being. In terms of strength, you may not be my opponent." Xia Xingchen said, "Of course. I'm certainly not the master's opponent. By the way, where are the brothers?" Roger said, "I saw that the situation was urgent, so I went ahead. They followed in the king. By this time, they should have arrived." As soon as Roger finished speaking, a huge space carrier, no less than the Star Ark, entered the battlefield. More than a dozen mechas flew out of the king, transformed into more than a dozen streams of light, and arrived at the battlefield in a blink of an eye. "Brother, I'll help you." One RUI drove the sword god mecha to the battlefield. His sharp eyes fell on the lizard tribe, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Dare to hurt my brother? I will never forgive you." Xia Xingchen, "We will also join the battle." The other brothers shouted and joined the battle. Behind the brothers, there were dozens of mechas with skulls on their chests flying over. They were the King Star Pirates under Roger. "King Star Pirates, follow me and Xingchen to fight for mankind." Roger shouted loudly, and rushed towards the chaos-devouring beast first. Roger, the strongest man in the human race, is actually Xia Xingchen's master. No wonder Roger and his King Star Pirates came. It turned out that Xia Xingchen passed the message to them. Although Roger is strong, but the King Star Pirates are less than 100 people. Can they really turn the tide of the battle? On Shiny and Star, people gathered together to discuss. Dimensional slash. Roger drove a golden skeleton mecha, and the mecha weapon was a golden longsword, and attacked the chaos-devouring beast frantically. With each of his attacks, waves of dimensional waves spread out, which were extremely sharp. The chaos-devouring beast could not resist at all, and was soon severely injured. "Master, how did you become so powerful?" Xia Xingchen watched from afar, and was completely stunned. Roger's attack contained the power of space. Every time he slashed, he could really cut the space. Even the space was cut into pieces. How could the chaos-devouring beast withstand such a terrifying attack? Space power. Master is obviously a powerless person. He has not awakened his superpowers. Why can he use space power? Xia Xingchen muttered in a low voice. "Brother, you feel very strange, don't you?" One RUI's voice came over, and he explained with a smile. "Thanks to you, you rescued the master from the dimension cube. He turned a disaster into a blessing and completely mastered the dimension cube. The power of the dimension cube is the power of the dimension. With the help of the dimension cube and his own talent, the master forcibly understood the laws of the dimension. Therefore, his current attack is very terrifying. Even a strong person with space ability cannot reach the master's level of understanding of space and dimension." Chapter 1631 Reinforcement. Great. Xia Xingchen smiled, feeling happy for his master from the bottom of his heart. "Brother, I'll go kill the enemy first," one RUI said with a smile. "Be careful. Those lizard bastards are very strong." Xia Xingchen reminded. "Brother, I'm not weak now, don't worry." One RUI drove the sword god mecha, with thousands of flying swords glittering behind him, and pointed casually. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless sword shadows crossed the starry sky, piercing the body of a lizard warrior with thousands of holes. What a strong attack. One RUI has grown a lot during this period. Finally, he can stand on his own. Xia Xingchen saw one RUI killing the enemy so easily, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. Among the brothers, one RUI is the youngest, and Xia Xingchen has been worried about him a lot. In addition to one RUI, the other brothers also showed their skills, rushed into the lizard's position, and killed crazily. For example, Zhang Yan, his mecha has amazing defense, and can withstand the attacks of dozens of lizard warriors at the same time. The strength shown by other brothers has far surpassed that of the King Star Pirates. On the contrary, the Star Pirates of the King Star Pirates had some difficulty in fighting. A legendary Star Pirate couldn't help but sigh, "I'm old. The world will be ruled by young people in the future. After this battle, it's time to retire." On the other side, Roger drove the golden skeleton mecha, holding a golden longsword, very bravely, constantly releasing dimensional slashes, and beat the chaos-devouring star beast into a panic. This human strongman is so powerful. I can't stand it anymore. You two come to help me. Wu Zhen shouted loudly. Here we come. Wu Zi and Wu Qian saw that Wu Zhen was defeated, and hurriedly controlled the sea demon whale and the green evil dragon bad to rush over. The three star beasts worked together to deal with Roger. The sea demon whale is the largest, nearly 10,000 meters long, and looks like a whale, and can naturally control water. The green evil dragon bird is a huge green bird, very fast, and emits a layer of green gas on its body, which is highly poisonous. Even a mecha with a body of steel would be corroded and dissolved if it fell into the poisonous gas. If it was a one-on-one battle, Roger would have the upper hand. However, with 1 against 3, Roger also felt very exhausted. "Master, I'll help you." One RUI saw that his master was in danger and shouted loudly. One RUI, "You are not an opponent. Stay away, so as not to affect you," Roger said anxiously. Roger has been in the Starry Sea for decades, and has experienced many storms. However, he has never seen such a strong and difficult enemy as the lizard tribe. "No. If this goes on, I will lose too. Hasn't the spiritual power of Xingchen recovered yet? Although the starry sky is big, only my master and apprentice can fight these starry sky beasts head on." Roger was anxious, and couldn't help muttering in a low voice. "Roger, who are you looking down on? What do you mean there are only you and your apprentice?" An old laugh sounded. Swish. A dazzling light cut through the starry sky. A mecha with dazzling light all over its body appeared in the center of the battlefield. There are 6 wings of light behind this mecha, which flutter slightly, and the whole body is filled with a holy aura. The dark starry sky is illuminated by the light emitted by this mecha. Angel of Light. It's the Angel of Light mecha. Ah. Could it be the Guardian of the Empire, the Angel of Light Michael? The second strongest man in the human race. The Angel of Light Michael. But, isn't he dead? That's right. It's Sir Michael. He's not dead. A cry of surprise rang out from the sky above Shineon Star. It is well known that the Guardian of the Empire, the Angel of Light Michael, died on Earth. No one expected that he would suddenly appear at the critical moment. "Aren't you dead yet, old man?" Roger and Michael are old acquaintances, and he joked, "Why did I hear that you died at the hands of my apprentice Xia Xingchen? Bah. Star Pirate Leader. I heard that you were trapped on the Gold and Silver Star for decades. How did you escape?" Michael retorted, exposing each other's scars with Roger. "None of your business." Roger snorted coldly. Being trapped on the Gold and Silver Star was indeed a shame in his life. "Anyway, I will always be the first. You are at most the second. No, you are not my apprentice's opponent, at best the third. I admire your apprentice Xia Xingchen's strength. I don't admire your strength. After killing these lizard bastards, I will challenge you to a battle. Let's see who is the well-deserved first in the starry sky. No, the second in the starry sky." Michael also refused to admit defeat. Unlike Roger, he had already put Xia Xingchen in the first place in his heart, and fighting with Roger was also fighting for the second place. Ding. The Light Angel Mech held a light warhammer in his hand, and fought with the sea demon whale. Although the two old men were bickering all the time, they were not ambiguous in the battle. With the help of the Light Angel Michael, Roger felt that the pressure was greatly reduced. Senior Michael? Xia Xingchen was slightly stunned when he saw the light angel Mech appear. Didn't Michael become disheartened and live in seclusion on the Azure Star? Why did he suddenly appear? Could it be? Xia Xingchen's heart trembled, and he quickly looked back, only to see a large army of starships approaching quickly at the edge of the battlefield. On these starships, there was the emblem of the Star Merchant Alliance. The stars were shining. On the front starship, Xingchen stood in front of the huge porthole of the bridge, her eyelashes trembling. Her eyes were like bright diamonds. Her beautiful face was full of worry, and she whispered, Xingchen, Jaina, why are you here? It's very dangerous here. I was going to let you come back after the war was settled. Xia Xingchen stared at the screen, and the haunted figure emerged. Compared with a cruel battlefield full of smoke and fire, Xingchen was as beautiful as a dream. Xingchen, I can't let you bear it alone anymore. I'm the princess of the empire. I should bear the fate of the empire. At least I can help you share a little bit. Xingchen saw that Xia Xingchen was fine, and she breathed a sigh of relief, her eyes firm. Why is Senior Michael here? Xia Xingchen asked him. Xingchen smiled charmingly. As soon as Michael arrived at Azure Star, I sent someone to pick him up and placed him on a remote island so that he could live in seclusion. As a result, he couldn't stand it at all and ran away from the island soon after, saying that he was bored and wanted to be my guard. So, I had to bring him here. However, he has changed a lot. He has put down the burden of being the guardian of the empire, and his mind is broader than before. He has successfully broken through to the quasi-celestial realm. Jaina, you helped me a lot. Xia Xingchen's eyes were full of love. Xingchen, what are you talking about? I know that everything you do is for me. It's just that you don't say it, and you bear it silently. In the future, I won't let you do this again. Xingchen said. Okay. Xia Xingchen nodded. He even forgot that he was on a battlefield filled with smoke, and the whole person was immersed in a sea of happiness. Chapter 1632. Another wave of strong reinforcement. Xingchen. Xingchen called several times in a row, and Xia Xingchen finally woke up from his dream and came back to his senses. I have asked the Mecha division of the Star Merchant Alliance to join the battle, but the lizard tribe is too powerful, and reinforcement are constantly pouring out of the black fog. The situation is not optimistic. And Michael and Roger, the two of them are still struggling to fight the three-headed star beast. Xingchen said. Indeed. Xia Xingchen nodded. The Mecha division of the Star Merchant Alliance is indeed much weaker than the 5 major legions under Xia Xingchen. Most of the lizard tribe warriors are legendary. In a battle of this level, no matter how many low-level Mecha divisions there are, they cannot turn the tide. For example, the Imperial Army and the Northern Army, no matter how many there are, can only delay time. It costs hundreds of mechas to kill a lizard tribe warrior, which is basically risking their lives. Jaina, don't worry. There will be reinforcement coming soon. Xia Xingchen smiled and calculated the time in his mind. Sure enough, another army of starships appeared on the edge of the battlefield. Brother, I'm here. Edward, the Lord of the Chaos Star Domain, led the Star Pirate army of the Chaos Star Domain, and rushed to Xia Star from afar. Brother Edward. Thank you. Xia Xingchen felt warm in his heart when he saw Edward, and a smile bloomed on his face. We are brothers. It's so polite to say that. Besides, I, Edward, can have what I have today because of you, brother. Edward laughed and pointed his finger, and the Star Pirate army rushed into the battlefield and started fighting with the lizard warriors. The Lord of Chaos Star Domain, Jackdaw Edward, is actually Xia Xingchen's brother. Galaxy. How can Xia Xingchen have such great power? What is Edward's identity? The Lord of Chaos Star Domain is equivalent to the 4 great dukes of the empire. Moreover, unlike the dukes, he is not restricted by the Qin royal family and his power is limited. In fact, he is the Emperor of Chaos Star Domain. I didn't expect Xia Xingchen to invite Edward here. It was originally to deal with Andre. With Edward's support, the Northern Army and the Imperial Army combined may not be Xia Xingchen's opponent. On Xia Star, everyone's face was shocked. Edward's Star Pirate Army, like the Mecha Corps of the Star Merchant Alliance, would play a huge role if it was a human civil war. However, facing the powerful lizard warriors, their role is minimal. Edward has no decent masters under his command. Even Edward himself has just achieved legend. Not to mention fighting against the Star Beast. It is also very difficult to deal with a lizard warrior. Edward, driving the Jackdaw mecha, finally killed a lizard warrior. He was so tired that he was out of breath, with a look of shock on his face. He thought to himself, has Xia Xingchen been fighting against this kind of horrible monster? Unbelievable. How did he hold on until now? Xingchen, the reinforcement you mentioned, are they Edward? We set out together. Although he has many subordinates, there are too few masters, and there are not even a few legendary ones. Xingchen shook her head. She naturally knew that Edward had brought an army with him. However, what is lacking now is not low-level mecha divisions, but masters. A large number of legendary mecha divisions. However, legendary mecha divisions are not cabbages, and Xingchen also notes that her request is really extravagant. Jaina, don't worry. They are here. Xia Xingchen was confident. Swish. An incomparably huge spaceship appeared in the starry sky. The size of this spaceship is extremely huge, even larger than the Star Domain Ark and the King's space carrier, like an asteroid. The hull is dilapidated, and many places are patched. The overall shape of the spaceship is very old. This is a generational spaceship from the distant Earth era. The promoter, master. The silhouette of a young girl flew out of the generational spaceship. She was not driving a mecha, nor was she wearing a spacesuit. Behind her were two pairs of thin transparent wings, which vibrated rapidly like dragonfly wings. The speed was astonishingly fast, turning into a stream of light, and in the blink of an eye it was next to Xia Xingchen, and pounced on him. Xia obey. Xia Xingchen looked at the beautiful girl in his arms and smiled. You must have worked hard to come here from the boundless star abyss. Xingchen, who is she? Xingchen was a little jealous when she saw the girl being so intimate with Xia Xingchen, but she was very smart and immediately discovered that this girl was not a human being, but an unknown creature that imitated humans. Xingchen's jealousy disappeared immediately, and she asked curiously. She is Xia Bei, the queen of the star-devouring worm. Xia Xingchen explained Xia Bei's identity to Xingchen as much as possible. She signed a soul contract with me, so she can be said to be my spirit beast. Master, who is this sister? She is so beautiful. Xia Bei stared at Xingchen with a pair of clear and bright big eyes. She originally thought that she was already very beautiful when she imitated the appearance of a human. But compared with Xingchen, she was a little ashamed. She is my fiancée, Princess Xingchen, and also your mistress. Xia Xingchen said. Master. Xia Bei was very well behaved and called sweetly. The star-devouring worm is said to be a powerful insect creature in the boundless star abyss. Xingchen was shocked. Xingchen can actually enslave the queen of the star-devouring worm. It really shocked me. There are many secrets hidden in the Ascendant Alliance, and the matter is of great importance. Xia Xingchen did not even elaborate on it with Xingchen. Xia Bei, is everything done? Are the strong men of the Alliance willing to participate in this war? Xia Xingchen asked. It's done. Xia Bei smiled sweetly, as long as they don't hunt the Star Devourers. Whether they hunt the Mechanical Clan or the Lizard Clan, as long as they are given points, it's the same. Okay. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly. Whoosh. 7 mechas flew out of the Generation spaceship, and they were driven by the 7 elders of the Ascendant Alliance. Leader. It's the leader. The elders knelt in front of Xia Xingchen hurriedly. From Xia Xingchen, terrifying mental fluctuations were transmitted, even more terrifying than the mental fluctuations of Kaldori before. In such a short period of time, the mental power soared to such a terrifying level. Who else could it be but the fallen Kaldori? The elders were even more convinced of Xia Xingchen's identity, and their expressions were pious. Well, tell the members to prepare for battle. This time the situation is special. The enemy is very powerful. The points obtained are 10 times more than before. Moreover, the rewards that can be exchanged for points will be more generous. As long as there is something in the Galactic Empire, whether it is technology, mecha, natural treasures, or even mysterious laws and meditation, it can be exchanged. Everyone fight hard, earn points, and become stronger in battle. Xia Xingchen nodded and shouted in a deep voice. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of legendary mecha masters, driving mechas, flew out of the generation spaceships. All of them were boiling with fighting spirit, like tigers coming down the mountain. Chapter 1633, Reversal of the War. For other human mecha masters, Xia Xingchen would shout, "Fight for humanity, for glory, and for faith." However, for the many legendary mecha masters of the Ascendant Alliance, Xia Xingchen did not talk about something as illusory as glory. These mecha masters are all strong, and they have only one goal, which is to keep working hard, keep evolving, surpass themselves, and make themselves stronger. Therefore, Xia Xingchen only talks about benefits, how to earn points, and how to become stronger. Great. 10 times the points. I just want to exchange for a mecha newly developed by the Tang Dynasty group. I need points to exchange for the Starry Sky secret treasure, to enhance my mental strength. Haha, I don't need a mecha, nor do I need a universe secret treasure. I need the secrets of the universe. I need knowledge. Knowledge is the source of power. Hearing Xia Xingchen's promise, the legendary mecha masters of the Ascendant Alliance were all excited. The stronger the strength, the more you know about the universe, the more you feel that the universe is vast and human beings are small. You need to keep climbing up and enhancing your strength to gain some sense of security. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. During the time when Xia Xingchen was away, the scale of the Ascender Alliance expanded again, and the number of legendary mecha masters was close to 1,000. Nearly 1,000 legendary mecha masters. What does this mean? In the Milky Way, there is no organization more powerful than the Ascender Alliance. However, this organization is too loose, and the legendary mecha masters are unruly, and like to be alone. It is impossible to really control them, and they can only be driven by interests. Seeing so many powerful humans appear, the entire Starry Sky was shocked. Those noble lords on Shianeo and Star who claimed to have seen the world were pale, and gasped at this moment. In the Elders' Court, there was silence. The elders headed by Qin Beixuan all bowed their heads and said nothing, with solemn faces. 4,000 legendary mecha masters. Xia Xingchen actually mastered such a terrifying power. If Xia Xingchen wanted, he could launch a palace coup at any time to overthrow the empire. He has the ability. However, Xia Xingchen did not do so. Instead, he stood up when the empire was in danger. Xingchen is a child who cares about the empire and the future of mankind. But how do we treat him? The elders were ashamed. When Qin Yan wanted to execute Xia Xingchen and Princess Qinjana, they did not dare to disobey Qin Yan, and chose to protect themselves, and even became accomplices, and took the opportunity to add insult to injury. The participation of the human strongmen of the Ascendant Alliance finally changed the one-sided situation. The offensive momentum of the lizard tribe was curbed, and the two sides fell into a stalemate. At this time, another army arrived at the battlefield. This starship army had clear flags and neat military appearances. It was the Galaxy Freedom Army. The leader of the Galaxy Freedom Army, Chen Yazhao, personally led the elite of the Freedom Army, and came all the way from Penglai Star region to support the battlefield. Xingchen, I'm late. Chen Yazhao's tall figure appeared on the screen with an apologetic look on his face. Xingchen. Chen Tingting nodded to Xia Xingchen with a blank expression, looking very cold. But her burning eyes completely betrayed her feelings. Chen Tingting was very conflicted. She loved Xia Xingchen, and was willing to give everything for him. However, she knew very well that Xia Xingchen was Princess Crossing's fiancé. Qinjana was Chen Tingting's best friend, and they had a very good relationship, and could talk about anything. Although the marriage system of the empire was polygamy, especially the members of the imperial family, they all had many wives and concubines. Qinjana once said that she didn't mind Xia Xingchen having more than one wife. However, Chen Tingting still couldn't get over the hurdle in her heart. Falling in love with her best friend's man made Chen Tingting's heart very tormented. In addition, her father was right next to her, and Chen Tingting had thousands of words to say to Xia Xingchen in her heart, but she could only hide her feelings and pretend to be cold as ice. Uncle Chen. Tingting, you are finally here. Xia Xingchen said with a smile. His eyes swept over Chen Tingting, without staying too long. This made Chen Tingting's heart sink. Her nose was sour, and she gritted her teeth to avoid crying on the spot. It was not unexpected that the Galaxy Freedom Army came to support Xia Xingchen. In Qin Yun's propaganda and smear campaign, Xia Xingchen always appeared with the Galaxy Freedom Army. In the eyes of the public, it was with the support of the Galaxy Freedom Army that Xia Xingchen was able to escape the Empire's pursuit many times. If the participation of the Ascendant Alliance made the war situation even, then the Galaxy Freedom Army became the last straw that broke the camel's back. The situation was obviously reversed. The lizard warriors pouring out of the void gate obviously could not keep up with the speed of death, and the battle line was slowly suppressed to the edge of the black fog. However, Roger and Michael faced the three-headed star beasts, but they were in danger and gradually lost. Xingchen, hasn't your mental power recovered yet? We can't hold on any longer. The light on the light angel mech was no longer as dazzling and bright as before, and it was obviously much dimmer. Michael shouted at the top of his voice. Xingchen, don't worry. We can still hold on. Although Roger said this, his voice was trembling. His mental power was about to be exhausted. Xiaobei, go support my master and senior Michael. Xia Xingchen's mental strength had not yet fully recovered. He was also very anxious. He turned to Xiaobei and said. Xiaobei was the queen of the star-devouring insects. She had been a quasi-celestial being for a long time. In terms of strength, Xiaobei was even stronger than Xia Xingchen. Okay, master. Xiaobei nodded, and the wings behind him vibrated. He turned and flew towards a starry sky beast, the green evil dragon bird. While flying, Xiaobei's petite body began to transform. The huge insect body was revealed. It was thousands of meters long, and covered with silver scales. It looked particularly gorgeous in the starry sky. Rather than being a Zerg, Xiaobei's appearance at this moment was more like a dragon in Chinese legend. Boom. In a blink of an eye, Xiaobei revealed his true face and rushed towards the green evil dragon bird, knocking it flying far away. Zerg, Wukan, who was controlling the green evil dragon bird, had blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. Her face was pale and her eyes were shocked. Green evil miasma. Woozy shouted, and the dragon bird flapped its huge wings, and a green mist covered Xiaobei. The green mist was a fierce poisonous gas that could even dissolve the hard titan alloy. However, Xiaobei didn't even look at it, and directly passed through the poisonous mist, and rushed towards the green evil dragon bird again, wrapping the dragon bird with its huge insect body. Star-eating insects are naturally immune to toxins, and the poisonous mist of the green evil dragon bird, in Xiaobei's eyes, does not exist at all. Swish. The huge insect body wrapped around the green evil dragon bird tightly. Die. Xiaobei's eyes were cold, and the insect body began to shrink. Crackling, crackling. The green evil dragon bird's body made the sound of broken bones, let out a wail, and blood gushed out of its mouth. It was strangled to death. In just a blink of an eye, one of the three star beasts was killed by Xiaobei. Chapter 1634, World-Destroying Imperial Dragon. So powerful. Xia Xingchen's Zerg spirit beast is too strong. Roger and Michael both looked at Xiaobei in shock. How ridiculous. Before, Qin Yun was so delusional that he wanted to kill Xia Xingchen. Any of his trump cards could make us die without a burial place. What's more, he has more than one trump card. Michael shook his head and smiled bitterly. At the same time, he was glad that at the last moment, he gave up the false title of the Guardian of the Empire and chose to stand with Xia Xingchen. Ah. The green evil dragon bird was strangled. Wuzi's body was destroyed. Xiaobei killed the green evil dragon bird. Wu Zhen and Wuzi were obviously panicked. Their minds were shaken, and they revealed their flaws. Infinite dimension slash. Roger would naturally not miss this great opportunity. A cold light surged in his eyes, and the golden longsword in the Mecha's hand instantly slashed out thousands of knife shadows. Swish, swish, swish. These knife shadows looked ordinary, but each one contained a terrifying power that could cut through space. Not good. Wu Zhen wanted to dodge, but it was too late. She could only rely on the Chaos Devourer's strong body to resist. Can you bear it? Roger smiled coldly. Swish. The Chaos Devourer was cut by the knife shadow with countless wounds, and blood splattered. Woo. The Chaos Devourer let out a mournful cry, and could no longer hold on. It fell in a blood mist, and was no longer silent. Chaos Devourer, die. Wu Zhen and Wuzi both died in the battle. Wuzi's face changed drastically. She had no will to fight. She controlled the magic sea whale and turned around to escape. Escape. Turn into light for me, Michael shouted, and the light hammer in his hand burst into thousands of dazzling lights. Boom. Billions of lights appeared, turning into a sea of light, covering the huge body of the magic sea whale. The magic sea whale struggled desperately in the sea of light, but could not break free. The huge body melted like ice and snow, and completely disappeared in the sea of light. The light dissipated. The demon sea whale vanished into thin air. Unlike Wu Zhen and Wu Zi, their bodies were destroyed, but their spirits escaped and returned to the home planet of the lizards. However, Wu Zi's spirit disappeared in Michael's light attack, and turned into dust. Old man Guang, your move is good. Roger nodded and praised. It seems that you have already comprehended the secret of light. The secret of light, it's not that easy to comprehend. Michael shook his head. With the help of the light angel Mecha, he understood some of the secrets of light, but he was still very far away from truly comprehending the secret of light. Michael knew very well that, if he really comprehended the secret of light, the whole planet would dissipate in the light with one blow. Xia Xingchen also nodded slightly in the distance. According to the records of the general outline of the universe, the secret of light is one of the 8 basic mysteries of the universe, and it is extremely difficult to comprehend. The 8 basic mysteries of the universe are light and darkness, order and chaos, life and death, time and space. These 8 mysteries are superior to other mysteries and constitute the foundation of the universe. The 3-headed star beast was killed, and the morale of the human army was once again high. The lizard army was beaten back step by step, retreated into the black fog, and defended near the void gate. On the lizard home planet, Queen Melissa watched the 3-headed star beast being killed, and her face was shocked. Including the wild sky war elephant killed by Xia Xingchen, 4 of the 10 major star beasts of the lizard tribe were killed. This has never happened in the long history of the lizard tribe's conquest of the universe. It's just a mere human. Queen Melissa bit her lips tightly, still unable to believe it. God, can we really win this war? Queen Melissa walked to the center of the temple and knelt in front of the statue. The appearance of this statue is no different from the one in the Shanren church, a round ball of light. It is the appearance of the spirit celestial being after the lizard tribe evolves into a celestial being. In the eyes of the lizards, the elder celestial beings are godlike beings. The lizards' war against humans was also arranged by the elder celestial beings. Queen Melissa originally obeyed the elder celestial beings' orders. However, when she saw the lizard strong men being killed one by one, she had a little doubt in her heart. Are gods really omnipotent? Yes. We will definitely win. The light ball flickered, and the voice of the elder celestial beings came over. Although he said it very firmly, his voice trembled slightly. It was obvious that even the elder celestial beings did not expect that humans would be so tenacious. At the last moment, they united as one and resisted them together. No wonder the eternal gods have always wanted to destroy humans. Humans are really a terrifying race. The elder celestial beings thought to themselves, but they did not tell Queen Melissa this. I understand. Queen Melissa stood up and regained her confidence. The words of God are the truth. We are your companions. You will never deceive us. This time, I will fight in person. Queen Melissa ordered the guards around her. Go and wake up the world-destroying Imperial Dragon. World-destroying Imperial Dragon? Your Majesty, you want to wake up that ferocious beast. The guard was a female lizard. She was stunned and reminded, the ferocious beast is very cruel. We lost thousands of warriors before we captured it. Usually, dozens of strong men, in groups of 4, take turns using mental enslavement to keep it in a coma. Even so, it has broken free from its mental shackles several times and slaughtered many strong men. Once it is released, it may bring disaster to our tribe. Your Majesty, please think twice. Stop talking nonsense. Queen Melissa glared. I will enslave the world-destroying Imperial Dragon myself. There will be no mistake. Yes, sir. Seeing that the Queen's order was so firm, the guards could only nod and leave in a hurry. AWW. On the home planet of the lizards, a thunderous roar came from the bottom of a dark abyss that was 10,000 meters deep. Boom. The earth trembled. Many volcanoes began to erupt, and the entire planet was shrouded in a sea of fire. The world-destroying Emperor Dragon woke up and howled tightly, triggering earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. On the home planet, countless lizards heard the howl, their faces turned pale, and their bodies couldn't stop shaking. A huge figure emerged from the abyss, exuding a terrifying breath of destruction. This was a huge, terrifying creature like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, with a height of 10,000 meters, covered with black hard armor, and magma faintly flowing out of the cracks. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The world-destroying Emperor Dragon opened its mouth and spit out streams of scorching air. It seemed that there was a sea of hellfire hidden in its chest and abdomen. Whoosh. The world-destroying Emperor Dragon suddenly opened its mouth and sprayed a stream of hot flames towards a palace. In a blink of an eye, the palace and the mountain were reduced to ashes. Evil beast. Behave yourself. You will have a chance to show off your power later. Queen Melissa held a golden scepter above the head of the world-destroying dragon and tapped it lightly on the head. Ouch. Queen Melissa's tap was very light, but the world-destroying dragon let out a scream and was very afraid of Queen Melissa. After being taught a lesson, the world-destroying dragon behaved much better and left the lizard tribe's home planet and flew towards the Void Gate. Chapter 1635. Only one war. Boom. Queen Melissa stood on the top of the world-destroying dragon, passed through the Void Gate, and went out in person to conquer humans. Queen. Your Majesty went out in person. That star beast. Is it the world-destroying dragon? The lizard warriors saw the huge figures of the queen and the world-destroying dragon, and they were all terrified and knelt on the ground. Human. The power you showed shocked me, but everything ends here. I declare that this war is over. Queen Melissa stood on the top of the world-destroying dragon, overlooking the entire battlefield, her eyes full of contempt. What kind of monster is this? What a big dinosaur. It can swallow a starship in one bite. Horrible. It's so terrifying. The human mecha master saw the terrifying figure of the world-destroying dragon and their faces changed drastically. Even Roger and Michael frowned and felt a huge pressure. What should we do? Michael looked at Roger and whispered, "At this point, we can only fight," Roger said in a deep voice. Roger and Michael looked at each other. The next moment, the two drove the mecha towards the world-destroying dragon to stop it. Whoosh. The world-destroying dragon opened its mouth, and before it could spit out flames, a heat wave hit it first. Roger and Michael were actually blown thousands of meters away by the heat wave. The mecha rolled 360 degrees before they stabilized their bodies. We were blown away in one breath. Michael couldn't believe it. If we were in our prime and joined forces, we might be able to fight this big monster. But the previous battle almost exhausted our mental strength. We were completely crushed by this monster. Roger looked unwilling and shook his head slowly. As strong as Roger is, he had already seen the outcome of this battle. He and Michael will definitely lose. It is very likely that they will die in this starry sky. However, Roger's eyes flashed with determination, and he whispered to Michael, "Old Guang, in this battle, the two of us are likely to die. If you are afraid of death, retreat as soon as possible." Michael said angrily, "Afraid of death? Who are you looking down on? I'm a lonely man. How can I be afraid of death? Since the battle on Earth, I have been a dead man. Have you ever heard of a dead person being afraid of death? But you are a brother and a disciple. If you die, they will definitely be sad. I think it is better for you to retreat." The two strongest humans, while bickering, did not give in to each other and drove the mecha again, rushing towards the world-destroying dragon. Boom. The world-destroying dragon opened its mouth, and this time it spit out no heat waves, but the world-destroying flames with astonishing temperature. Suddenly, Roger and Michael fell into the boundless sea of fire. As Roger expected, with his current mental strength, he could not be the opponent of Queen Melissa and the world-destroying dragon. He drove the mecha and struggled in the sea of fire, unable to escape for a while. Not far away, the forehead of the Angel of Light Michael was covered with fine beads of sweat, and he was also struggling to hold on. It can be seen that Michael will not hold on for much longer. It's really over. Roger smiled bitterly and whispered, "At least, I, the Star Pirate King Roger, died on the battlefield, not on the sickbed. Master. Big brother." Seeing Roger in a desperate situation, One RUI and other apprentices of Roger, as well as the Star Pirates of the King Star Pirate Group, all had tears in their eyes and shouted at the top of their lungs. They all wanted to rescue Roger desperately. However, the temperature of these flames was too high, and they could not get close at all. They could only watch from the periphery of the sea of fire. At this moment, a dark golden figure rushed into the sea of fire. It was Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen's mental power had not yet fully recovered, only 70%. But now the situation was critical, and he could not care so much, and could only rush into the sea of fire at the risk of his life. The beast god mecha was formed by the combination of 4 holy beast mechas, and had the characteristics of 4 holy beast mechas. The Suzuki mecha, one of the sacred beast mechas, is made of the 3-legged golden crow. The 3-legged golden crow can survive on the sun, and is not afraid of high temperatures. Moreover, after Xia Xingchen comprehended the secrets of the element, his control over the energy of flames has reached the pinnacle. Xia Xingchen was somewhat confident, so he drove the beast god mecha into the sea of fire. A few seconds later, the beast god mecha rushed out again, with 2 more mechas in his hands. One was Roger's golden skeleton mecha, and the other was the light angel. In the cockpits of the 2 mechas, Roger and Michael were both dying. If Xia Xingchen was a few seconds later, they would really be buried in the sea of fire. That human strongman has taken action again. He can actually save people from the world-destroying flames of the world-destroying Emperor Dragon. Queen Melissa's face showed surprise again. The strength shown by this human strongman once again exceeded her expectations. Xia Xingchen successfully rescued Roger and Michael. Seeing that the 2 were safe, he breathed a sigh of relief, but his expression was still solemn. If the strength of the savage Sky War elephant reached the peak of the quasi-celestial being, then the strength of the world-destroying dragon has surpassed the celestial being. Facing such a terrifying monster, Xia Xingchen felt very difficult. Xia Xingchen knew very well that the possibility of defeating the world-destroying dragon was infinitely close to zero. Knowing that it is impossible to do it, but still doing it is what a real man does. Xia Xingchen glanced at the master who had fallen into a coma and murmured. Roger knew that he was no match for the world-destroying dragon, but he still chose to fight. In the eyes of the lizards, this behavior was very stupid, and was simply suicide. But in Xia Xingchen's view, the master's behavior was great, which made him admire him. Besides, what else could he do if he didn't fight? Retreat? Escape? Behind him was the capital of the empire, Xia. Behind him were his relatives and friends. How could he escape? There is only one way. With his hands tightly clenched, Xia Xingchen took a step forward and resolutely stood in front of the world-destroying Emperor Dragon, facing the lizard queen Melissa. Want to die? Grant you. Melissa smiled coldly. She didn't think that this young human warrior would be a match for the world-destroying Emperor Dragon. World-destroying flame. The world-destroying Emperor Dragon roared to the sky, magma flowing all over its body, and opened its huge mouth. A raging column of fire gushed towards the beast god Mecha. On Xia, countless people saw this scene, and their hearts were in their throats at this moment. Many people were too nervous, and forgot to breathe for a while, and their faces turned red. The next moment, under the gaze of countless humans, the world-destroying Emperor Dragon's extremely fierce and raging column of fire, mixed with pure destructive energy, fiercely bombarded the beast god Mecha. Bang! A flame burst out in the starry sky, completely covering the dark golden Mecha, and the faces of countless humans on Xia were pale. Xia Xingchen's Mecha was hit. Boom. A dark golden figure flew out from the light and fire, and flew for tens of thousands of meters before gradually stopping. The whole body of the beast god Mecha was covered with traces of burning, and the external armor plate showed signs of melting. Due to the high temperature, Xia Xingchen's black hair and eyebrows were curled up in the cockpit, and his face was black, looking extremely miserable. Chapter 1636 The Power of All Mankind. Human, as I said before, you can't be my opponent at all. I will kill you, and completely wipe out your race, so that I can relieve the hatred in my heart. Melissa gritted her teeth and shouted. Melissa was very angry. As long as the spiritual body of the lizard masters like Wooloo was not destroyed, they could recover their bodies with the help of the power of the Well of Life. However, 4 star beasts were killed, and the loss was too great. Only by destroying humans can Melissa's anger be calmed. The important thing is that she not only has this plan, but also has the strength to do so. Yes, I'm not your opponent. But Xia Xingchen looked miserable, but still raised his head, and even showed a smile on his face. But you have to understand. You are not against me alone. You are against our entire human race. Enemy with trillions of human compatriots in our galaxy. So what? No matter how many trash there are, they are still trash. You are the strongest among humans. As long as I can kill you, the rest of the humans are not a concern. Melissa's eyes flashed, and she said coldly, "Really?" Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, stretched out his palm, and there was a diamond-shaped metal device in the palm, emitting a faint blue light. "What is this?" Melissa's golden pupils shrank. "What is it?" "A weapon. But I can't feel its energy fluctuations at all. It seems to be an ultra-wave transmission device. Although it is a creation of Shinran technology, it has no lethality. Who are you trying to scare by taking it out?" "Indeed, it is just a small ultra-wave hologram," Xia Xingchen said. The instrument in his hand was a celestial communication instrument, which could project three-dimensional images directly onto the sky of the planet and transmit sound synchronously. "Princess, you used this device to speak to Xia and Star before. This kind of communication instrument, in the eyes of humans, is of extremely high technological level and almost unimaginable. But for celestial beings, it is a very common thing. Just like the television and telephone that every human household has, it is a household appliance. As a companion tribe of the celestial beings, the lizards are very familiar with the world of the celestial beings, so Melissa recognized it at a glance. What you just said has been recorded by me and transmitted to the sky of major human planets. Xia Xingchen whispered. Ha ha ha. Interesting. Go ahead and record it. It happens that I can use your hand to convey fear to every human being. And the tragic scene of you being defeated and killed by me will also be recorded for your weak human compatriots to see. Queen Melissa laughed. Shiny Star, Manastar, Lubin Star, Lingji Star. Hundreds of large planets inhabited by humans in the Milky Way. The sky suddenly changed, and a clear three-dimensional projection appeared. It was the starry sky battlefield in front of Shiny Star. Melissa's arrogant words and arrogant appearance were recorded and reflected in the sky. On the planet, hundreds of billions of people looked up and watched this scene with their eyes wide open. And the image in the sky was immediately photographed by someone with equipment and put on the internet. The TV station also started simultaneous live broadcast. Not only the humans on these large planets, but almost all humans in the Milky Way saw this scene. This alien race is so arrogant. They actually said that we humans are trash. Compared to these ugly lizards, we are indeed weak. Come on, Xia Xingchen. Beat up these stinky lizards. Countless people were extremely angry, waving their fists at the image of the lizard tribe on the screen, cheering for Xia Xingchen. Compatriots, no matter where you are now, no matter what your profession is, it doesn't matter whether you are loyal to the North or the Empire. As you can see, these ugly aliens from outside the Milky Way want to invade our planet, burn our homes, kill our loved ones, and destroy our civilization. Will you allow this to happen? Xia Xingchen's low voice was transmitted to the ears of every human being through the instrument. Not allowed. On countless planets, many people shouted with excitement. I heard your voices. The extremely loud and resounding shouts that resounded through the sky. Not allowed. So, please raise your hands, turn your palms towards the direction of Shiny Star, and silently recite my name, Xia Xingchen. Lend me strength. Fellow countrymen, I need your strength to defeat the enemy. Xia Xingchen shouted. Borrow strength from fellow countrymen? How dare you say that? What kind of energy in the universe can be transmitted regardless of distance? It's ridiculous. Melissa laughed again. Xia Xingchen did not answer, but stretched out his right hand. A crystal pyramid rotated in the palm of his hand and slowly floated up. Melissa was right. Even the technology of the celestial beings could not transmit energy without regard to distance. But what if it was a technology that surpassed the celestial beings and was more advanced than the celestial beings? Xia Xingchen, we are willing to lend you power. Just raise your hand. On countless planets, people raised their hands high, either shouting or silently chanting, calling out Xia Xingchen's name. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In various parts of the starry sky, one milky white light ball after another gathered into a sea of light, gathered from all directions, and poured into the crystal pyramid. In an instant, the crystal pyramid became extremely dazzling, containing the firm belief of all mankind. Thank you everyone. Xia Xingchen looked up at the source of faith, watching the power of faith pouring in from all directions gather into a sea, tears flashing in his eyes. At this moment, Xia Xingchen was very moved. He was no longer fighting alone. Behind him was the entire human race. The power of faith condensed and changed in Xia Xingchen's hands, turning into a silver white huge drill emitting dazzling light. The silver drill seemed to contain powerful energy to tear the universe apart. Its energy continued to soar as the power of faith gathered. Impossible. Melissa's face finally changed. She felt a strong sense of oppression from the crystal pyramid. Can't stop it. Absolutely can't stop it. Melissa made a quick judgment, with a look of panic on her face. God save me. Melissa knew she was no match for him, so she could only pray for the help of the elder. A ball of light appeared beside Melissa, flickering, and she was also in shock. What kind of cosmic treasure is this? It can actually gather the power of faith. The elder were also shocked. They have done a deep study of the spirit. However, they could not recognize the source of faith. God, this is not the time to talk about this. Please lend me strength. Melissa said anxiously. Impossible. The elder refused directly, his voice cold. The Milky Way has a barrier, and no one can interfere. The mechanical celestial forcibly interfered, and even descended to a clone, and ended up dying tragically. We are not that stupid. Moreover, the loss of energy transmission over long distances is too great. We simply cannot afford it. If we could transmit energy directly, we would have wiped out humans long ago. Do we still have to go to such great lengths to provoke a human civil war, open the gate of the void, and let you attack? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1637, Cutting Off the Future of Heaven and Man. God, my race obeyed your orders, and went to war with humans. As soon as you saw that the situation was not good, you abandoned us. Don't forget that you also evolved from my race. Melissa was completely stunned, looking at the elder celestial being, with a cold light flashing in her golden pupils. HMPH. Don't compare us with you. We are celestial beings, a completely different life form from you. Besides, if you were not so incompetent, and could not match humans, how could you end up like this? The elder celestial being snorted coldly, obviously ready to give up Queen Melissa. The lifespan of the elder celestial beings is extremely long, and they can live for tens of thousands of years. However, the lifespan of the lizards is only a few hundred years. In the eyes of the elder celestial beings, Queen Melissa is just one of the countless puppets they have fostered over the long years, and they can abandon them at any time. The elder celestial beings are much smarter than the mechanical celestial beings. No matter how many casualties the lizards suffer, they will not risk it. This plan against humans failed. There will be next time. The spirit race has plenty of time. They believe that one day, they will find an opportunity to completely destroy humanity. Swish. The light ball of the spirit race disappeared from the starry sky. They completely abandoned Queen Melissa and left first. My race has been abandoned by the gods. Melissa's face was pale. Facing Xia Xingchen's faith drill ready to go, she had never been so desperate. No. I don't accept it. My fate is in my own hands. Since the gods have abandoned me, I have no choice but to fight. Queen Melissa was a king after all. She was absent-minded for a few seconds, and a crazy look appeared on her face. Well of life. Queen Melissa stretched out her hand, and suddenly a green breath gushed out from the temple on the home planet of the lizard race, gathering on her body, causing her breath to suddenly surge, and become extremely powerful. Melissa tried her best to extract energy from the well of life, the treasure of the lizard race, to fight against the entire human faith power gathered in Xia Xingchen. This confrontation was no longer a confrontation between Melissa and Xia Xingchen. It was a confrontation between the lizard race and humans. Idiot. What are you doing? Stop. The light ball of the spirit race celestial being appeared again and shouted angrily. Melissa bit her lips and continued to draw power from the well of life without responding to the spirit race celestial being. The spirit race celestial being was anxious. You will die if you die. If the well of life is destroyed, the lizard race will be finished. Stop. Stop now. I will not lose. Melissa's eyes were stubborn, and her whole body was shrouded in a faint green light. This is the breath of life. The world-destroying Emperor Dragon was affected by the breath of life, and the injuries in the previous battle were completely recovered and returned to its peak state. The faith of trillions of human beings gathered together and turned into this attack. Xia Xingchen's momentum climbed to the peak state, and a terrifying fluctuation came from his body. The breath was extremely terrifying, and the whole person was shrouded in white light. Spiral of faith. Along with the shouts that shook the starry sky, countless figures seemed to appear behind Xia Xingchen, pushing the huge spiral drill together and throwing it towards Melissa. Well of life. Melissa drained the energy of the well of life and controlled the world-destroying Emperor Dragon, which was emitting green light, to rush towards the huge drill. Boom. It was like the Big Bang of the universe. The entire starry sky was shrouded in dazzling light, and no one knew what happened. After a long time, the light gradually dissipated. The place where Queen Melissa was empty. Together with the Void Gate, it disappeared. At the same time, all the lizard tribe armies of the Void Gate were destroyed. Only the edge of the battlefield was left with scattered lizard tribe troops. On the other side, Xia Xingchen was pale, panting, and his body was shaky. He might fall down at any time. However, he was just overdrawn from mental power and was not injured. We won. We won. Humanity won. Cheers rang out from countless planets. Yes, we won. Xia Xingchen smiled and finally couldn't hold on and fainted. Master. Master. Boss. Xingchen. Several figures immediately rushed over and supported Xia Xingchen. Kinjana flew over in a mecha and held Xia Xingchen in her arms. Seeing his tired face, she felt a pain in her heart. She hugged him tightly and whispered, "He is tired, let him have a good rest." Everyone nodded quickly. The remaining scattered lizard warriors were not a threat. Under the leadership of Carissa, they were wiped out by the mecha divisions of the 5 legions. So far, the war between humans and the Elder Celestials has come to an end for the time being. The Northern Emperor Andre died in battle, and the war between the North and the Empire was officially declared over. Distant starry sky. A seemingly desolate planet. The surface of the planet is covered with thick clouds, and the interior cannot be seen clearly. Only a few celestial races know that this planet is the base of the Elder Celestials. In a towering temple, the atmosphere here is extremely depressing. The head of the Elder Celestial is translucent and is a spiritual body. The facial features are those of a lizard woman, delicate and beautiful, but the face is gloomy and almost dripping with water. Failed. We failed completely. The head of the Elder Celestial said. Yes, we failed. Below, more than a dozen spirit race celestial beings lowered their heads. Failure is not terrible. In order to deal with humans, we have been planning for so long, and have encountered many setbacks. The key is the well of life. The well of life has been destroyed. This is trouble. The well of life is the treasure of the lizard race. Without the well of life, the lizard race could not have become a powerful race that dominates the stars. Without the well of life, we could not have evolved into celestial beings. The leader of the spirit race celestial beings whispered. All the spirit race celestial beings were silent, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. They all knew very well what the destruction of the well of life meant. The lizard race was able to evolve into spirit race celestial beings because of the well of life. The destruction of the well of life meant that the evolutionary path of the lizard race was cut off. In the long years to come, it will be difficult for the lizard race to evolve into spirit race celestial beings. And the spirit race celestial beings have no ability to reproduce. What is the most important thing for a race? Reproduction. A race that cannot reproduce, no matter how long its life is, will only have one result: destruction. Stupid. Really stupid. They actually used the well of life as a bet and destroyed the future of the lizard tribe. We will also be destroyed at the same time. The leader of the elven clan was so angry that he couldn't help cursing, but his voice became lower and lower, and finally he sobbed. The lizard tribe was cold-blooded to begin with. After evolving into spiritual bodies, they abandoned their bodies and many emotions. The leader of the elven clan has always been cold-blooded. However, at this moment, contrary to everyone's expectations, he actually burst into tears. Because he had seen the future of his own race, and it would usher in the inevitable doomsday. He felt a deep despair. It was humans who cut off the evolutionary path of the lizard tribe and the future of the elven clan. It was Xia Xingchen. Chapter 1638. After the war. Xia Star. Outer Orbit. Starfield Arc. Xia Xingchen slept for 3 days and 3 nights, and Xingchen guarded beside him for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days later, Xia Xingchen woke up in bed and saw Xingchen lying on the bed, already asleep. Looking at Xingchen's sleeping face, Xia Xingchen couldn't help but reach out and touch her soft hair. Xingchen. Xingchen was a light sleeper and was immediately awakened. She raised her head and saw that Xia Xingchen had opened his eyes. She shouted in surprise. Her voice was a little hoarse, and then she couldn't help crying and threw herself on Xia Xingchen and hugged him tightly. I'm sorry, I haven't had time to accompany you. But everything is over. The nightmare is over. Xia Xingchen patted Xingchen's shoulder gently and felt Xingchen's tears soaking his clothes. Xingchen. I don't blame you. I never dreamed that I could return to Xia Star, see my sister, and see everyone. I'm very happy, really happy. But the happiest thing is that I can finally be with you. Xingchen whispered. Me too. Xia Xingchen nodded and held Xingchen's hand tightly. In the next 4 days, Xia Xingchen and Xingchen locked themselves in the room and enjoyed the rare world of 2 people. Jaina. Xia Xingchen stood in front of the window, looking at the vast sea of stars outside, and suddenly turned to Xingchen on the bed and said, "Let's get married. Get married." Xingchen was stunned for a moment, and it took her a long time to react, with a look of joy on her face. Xingchen, you proposed to me. Oh my god, you really proposed to me. Am I dreaming? I thought about it for a long time before making this decision. Let's get married. Xia Xingchen said. Okay. I promise you. Anyway, we have already held an engagement ceremony. Wait a minute, I need to think about it. Can we arrange our wedding in 3 months? The time seems a bit rushed, and there must be a lot of royal relatives present. Otherwise, half a year later, Xingchen has already started planning her wedding. Not 3 months, nor half a year. Today, we'll get married today. Then, let's put everything aside. Everything about you and me. We'll just be 2 ordinary lovers on a honeymoon trip in the Milky Way. I want to go out with you and take a good look at the world. We'll travel together for 3 years. Xia Xingchen said. What? Traveling for 3 years? That's too sudden. Xingchen was stunned. But, it's a bit romantic. Traveling in the starry sky for 3 years, completely forgetting our identities, unloading the burden on our bodies, and enjoying life to the fullest. Xingchen, I like it very much. Xingchen smiled. Most girls want to have a grand wedding. However, Xingchen is an imperial princess, and she has seen too many grand scenes since she was a child. Her own wedding is also a grand scene, inviting many royal relatives to attend, and it feels very troublesome to think about it. The important thing is that such a wedding is not romantic at all in Xingchen's eyes. Xingchen knows very well that Xia Xingchen puts everything aside and accompanies her in traveling in the starry sky for 3 years. What this means is that in Xia Xingchen's mind, she is more important than anything else. Xingchen. That's enough. Xingchen couldn't help crying, tears of joy. Sister. Xingchen returned to Xia Star and met her sister, Princess Yu, in the Imperial Palace. Jaina. Princess Yu hugged her sister tightly in her arms, and the 2 sisters cried with joy. After crying, the emotions of the 2 sisters gradually stabilized. Sister, Xingchen proposed to me. Xingchen said with a smile. Great. Princess Yu was very excited. Although the north is pacified, the 2 Grand Dukes of Penglai Star region and Antarctic Star region are ready to make a move and may take the opportunity to cause chaos. The empire needs a strong leader. Xia Xingchen is the most suitable candidate. You are the legitimate heir to the throne of the empire. After he marries you, he can also inherit the throne and become the emperor of the empire. Sister, let's talk about this later. Xingchen lowered her head and said softly, "We are going to get married quietly without making a big scene. Then, the two of us will travel for 3 years to see the customs of various planets." 3 years. How can that be possible? A country cannot be without a king. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Xia Xingchen has this ability, so he should shoulder the responsibility of the emperor of the empire. Princess Yu immediately shook her head, thinking that the decisions of Xingchen and Xia Xingchen were not mature enough and a little willful. "Sister." Xingchen acted coquettishly. "Xingchen has too much on his shoulders and has been too tired all the time. Just let him rest. It's only 3 years, and it will pass in the blink of an eye." "Jaina." Princess Yu looked at her sister, and her eyes gradually softened. 3 years. If this is Xia Xingchen's decision, then he must have his reasons. He has given so much to the empire, and he really deserves a break. "Okay, I promise you. During these 3 years, I will handle the daily affairs of the empire. However, after 3 years, he must come back to succeed the emperor of the empire." Princess Yu sighed. She owed too much to her sister and felt guilty. As soon as Jaina acted coquettishly, she couldn't help but compromise. "Sister, I know you love me." Xingchen smiled. Star Domain Arc. Xia Xingchen stood in front of the domain communicator and connected to the Universal Civilization Network. Swish. Xia Xingchen entered the virtual space and came to Colossus' private space. "Xingchen." Carlos had obviously been waiting for a long time and immediately came to greet him, and the two hugged. "Xingchen, do you know? Recently, a big thing happened, and the whole world of celestial beings was shaken. Something happened to the elder celestial beings. The evolutionary channel of their companion tribe was cut off. There is no future. Even the eternal gods have given up on them." Carlos said excitedly. "Countless celestial beings are speculating why the elder celestial beings have fallen into this situation. But I know. It was you who did it, right? It was you who cut off the evolutionary channel." "Evolutionary channel?" Xia Xingchen looked confused and told Carlos about the war between humans and the lizards. Carlos was fascinated by what he heard. It took Xia Xingchen a long time to come back to his senses, and he said with emotion, "What a great war. The war between humans and lizards. I can imagine how magnificent this war is." "Xingchen, the well of life is the evolutionary channel of the lizards. The well of life is destroyed, and the lizards are finished. There may never be another celestial being born. The celestial beings of the spirit race cannot have new blood joining, and will eventually perish." "Xingchen, you indirectly destroyed a powerful celestial race. This is an incredible record. If the news spreads, it will definitely shock the universe. It's better not to spread this news. Humans already have enough enemies." Xia Xingchen shook his head and smiled bitterly. He knew very well that it was because humans kept a low profile and hid behind the galactic barrier that they were able to develop to this point. Otherwise, they would have been destroyed by other powerful civilizations long ago. Chapter 1639. The universe is infinite. Life is infinite. "Xingchen, last time you asked me to help you collect intelligence and find out the truth about the extermination of the ancient humans by the eternal gods. I spent a lot of effort and finally found some clues." Carlos suddenly said. "Oh." Xia Xingchen was shocked and immediately said, "Tell me quickly, tell me quickly. Don't be excited. This period of history was erased by the eternal gods. What I found is just a few words. In the distant past, the ancient humans were a powerful celestial civilization, ranking 13th in the universe. Although not as powerful as the top 10 gods, it was also an advanced civilization with great influence. You humans have a saying, called the man is innocent, but guilty of possessing a treasure. The ancient humans discovered the remains of an ancient god-level civilization on a remote planet, and found the relics of the gods from the remains." Carlos said. "God level? God's relics?" Xia Xingchen looked confused. "Is it the relics of the 10 great gods?" "No. The top 10 civilizations in the universe are honored as gods, and they also regard themselves as gods. However, no matter how powerful they are only celestial beings, not gods. The so-called god level is the supreme existence that surpasses celestial beings in all aspects, is truly immortal, can travel through dimensions, transcend the universe, and transcend the long river of time. Many celestial races have built temples and statues for them. I'm very sure that what the ancient humans got was the relics of God, that is, the artifact. This is why the eternal gods coveted it. In the end, they suffered the disaster of genocide. The star barrier is an absolute barrier created by ancient humans using artifacts to protect the Milky Way. Even the 10 great gods cannot cross it and directly interfere. Carlos looked longing. Existence above celestial beings. True gods. Xia Xingchen was completely stunned. Carlos' words were too shocking. Above celestial beings, there are even more advanced life forms. Xia Xingchen was shocked for a moment, but he soon figured it out. The universe is infinite. Life is infinite. Is becoming a celestial being the end of evolution? Of course not. Becoming a celestial being is a new starting point. The universe and life have infinite mysteries waiting for Xia Xingchen to explore. The reason why celestial beings are called this is that they are still human beings, not gods. Even the 10 great gods are just self-proclaimed gods, and they are still a long way from the true god level. Xia Xingchen was very excited, clenching his hands tightly, and he wanted to venture into the world of celestial beings immediately, to explore the infinite mysteries hidden in the universe. Although the star barrier was set up by ancient humans with artifacts, and the celestial beings cannot directly interfere, it does not mean that the celestial beings cannot interfere. The mechanical race can invade the Milky Way through the super time and space channel of the boundless star abyss. The celestial beings of the spirit race can also seduce the human duke and provoke a civil war. So, it is not really safe for humans to hide behind the star barrier. Carlos reminded. Yes, I must become a celestial being. Let humans become a celestial being companion race so that they can be protected by the rules of the celestial beings. Xia Xingchen nodded. In fact, the companions are not absolutely safe. However, this is the only way. Therefore, the battle is not over. Humanity has many enemies. You destroyed the well of life, and the evolutionary path of the elder celestial beings was cut off. They will definitely not give up. Carlos reminded, you must work harder and become a celestial being as soon as possible. Xingchen, I have made a preliminary training plan for you. Take a look at it first, starting from tomorrow. Thank you, Carlos. However, I cannot start training for the time being. Xia Xingchen apologized. What's wrong? Carlos asked curiously. Because, I promised Jaina that after marrying her, I would take her on a 3-year journey in the Milky Way. I have not been by her side to take care of her. I owe her too much. I must make up for it and accompany her well. Xia Xingchen mentioned Jaina with a sweet smile on her face. Love, I understand. It is because I understand that I can evolve into a celestial being. Xingchen, I support your decision. Besides, the celestial beings of the Elder Tribe were severely injured this time, and it will take some time to recover. 3 years should be enough time. Carlos smiled and said, Xingchen, congratulations. You are finally together and can marry Princess Crossing. Love is the most beautiful thing in the universe. Carlos, thank you. Xia Xingchen thanked him again. The reason why Xia Xingchen went to Carlos first was to ask about the situation of the celestial beings of the Elder Tribe. He was afraid that the celestial beings of the Elder Tribe would immediately retaliate against humans. Then, Xia Xingchen and Princess Crossing's honeymoon plan would be ruined. Carlos has a strong ability to collect intelligence. Since he said there is 3 years, there must be 3 years. Xia Xingchen felt relieved. Xia Xingchen came to the bridge, found Captain Claude, and entrusted the relevant matters to him. He drove an ordinary small starship to the Xia Star Palace, picked up Jaina, and started a 3-year honeymoon trip. 3 years is just a blink of an eye in the starry sky. 3 years later, a small starship landed at the Xia Star Airport. A man and a woman got off the spaceship and looked at the bustling crowd at the airport and couldn't help saying, Xingchen, has it been 3 years? I feel like I just left yesterday. Jaina took Xia Xingchen's arm, with a sweet look on her face. Jaina's face has not changed much, but her temperament has changed a lot. She is less childish and more sexy and charming. She has changed from a graceful girl to a graceful young woman. Well, 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. But a lot of things have happened in these 3 years. Xia Xingchen was dressed in black, and his eyes were more restrained, not as aggressive as before. For 3 years, Xia Xingchen has been accompanying Qin, traveling around the starry sky, living a carefree life without caring about worldly affairs. However, Xia Xingchen did not abandon his spiritual practice. Instead, because of his travels, he had many insights and quietly crossed the threshold of quasi-celestial beings, and became a celestial being. Reading thousands of books, and traveling thousands of miles. The ancients did not deceive me. When Xia Xingchen broke through, and became a celestial being, he was filled with emotion. It was not accidental that Xia Xingchen became a celestial being. Since the Battle of Xia Star, Xia Xingchen has been hailed as a patron saint of mankind and the guardian of the galaxy. Countless planets in the Milky Way are singing the legend of Xia Xingchen. Movies, novels, and Xia Xingchen's deeds have been adapted into various forms. There are even some planets where many believers built temples for Xia Xingchen and respected him as a new god. In this case, the power of faith and the source of faith has been overflowing. Even the faith cage with a larger storage space is filled with the power of faith. For most mecha masters, meditation to improve mental power is an eternal problem. But for Xia Xingchen, who has the source of faith, the mental power converted from the power of faith is inexhaustible. Chapter 1640 The Empress ascends the throne. Mental strength is not a problem for Xia Xingchen. The threshold that prevents Xia Xingchen from becoming a celestial being is the secret of the universe. Comprehending the secret of the universe is a low probability event. Even if Xia Xingchen has the general outline of the universe, it can only reduce some of the difficulty. After all, learning relevant knowledge about the secrets of the universe from the general outline of the universe is completely different from truly comprehending the secrets. During the 3-year journey in the starry sky, Xia Xingchen and Qin saw many wonders of the universe, and verified these scenes with the knowledge learned from the general outline of the universe, and gained some insights, which successfully promoted them to celestial beings. Yes, a lot of things have happened in these 3 years. Qin smiled. The biggest thing is that the Northern Army surrendered under the leadership of General Vitus. Now, the entire North is your territory of the Star Marquis. Oh, no, not the Star Marquis, but the Star Duke. Qin said with a smile. Due to Xia Xingchen's great contribution to the Empire and mankind, the Empire Elders Council promoted Xia Xingchen to the Duke. Xia Xingchen was less than 30 years old. He was promoted from a miner at the bottom of the society to one of the 4 dukes of the empire, controlling the entire north and most of the Chang'an Star region. In the long history of the empire, it can be said that there is no one before and no one after. Countless people in the empire sighed and envied Xia Xingchen's rapid rise and becoming a duke so quickly. But these ordinary people didn't know. Princess Yu and the Council of Elders discussed and unanimously decided to let Xia Xingchen ascend the throne and succeed the Emperor of the Empire after he married Qin. How noble is the status of the Emperor of the Empire? No matter how high the status of the Duke is, he is still a minister. The Emperor of the Empire is the master. The two identities are fundamentally different. But this proposal was rejected by Xia Xingchen. The reason is simple. The Emperor of the Empire is entangled in government affairs and has no time to practice, let alone leave Xia Star easily. Xia Xingchen is about to go to the world of heaven and people to pursue more powerful power. The country cannot be without a king for a day. Xia Xingchen's decision gave Princess Yu and the Council of Elders a headache. The civil war between the Empire and the North has caused huge losses on both sides. However, the 2 Grand Dukes of the Antarctic Star region and the Penglai Star region watched the fire from the other side of the river without sending a single soldier, and have been retaining their strength. If they were not afraid of Xia Xingchen's strength, they would have rebelled long ago. Letting Xia Xingchen ascend the throne and become the Emperor of the Empire is the best way to kill the civil strife once and for all in its infancy. Unfortunately, Xia Xingchen flatly refused. In the end, Princess Yu and the Council of Elders could only make concessions and let Princess Crossing succeed to the throne and become the Empress of the Empire. Princess Crossing is Xia Xingchen's wife, and she is also the legitimate heir to the throne. It is more appropriate for her to succeed to the throne. This time, Xia Xingchen and Qinjana returned to Shinyuan Star, just to let her succeed to the throne, and become the emperor of the empire. At this time, a team of royal guards drove a mecha into the aviation port. Your Excellency the Duke, Your Highness the Princess. The leading guard came over and knelt in front of Xia Xingchen and Qinjana. Your subordinate Qin Kailang, under the order of Princess Yu, is here to pick up the two adults. Well, let's go. I haven't seen my sister for a long time, and I miss her very much. Qinjana remained calm, and her words were full of the momentum of a mother of the country. Xia Xingchen and Qinjana came to the palace under the protection of the guards. The palace was decorated with lights and had begun to prepare for Qinjana's coronation ceremony. In a palace, Xia Xingchen and Qinjana met Princess Yu. After not seeing each other for 3 years, Princess Yu's face was more haggard than before, with heavy dark circles and bloodshot eyes. Holding the power of the empire is extremely laborious. Sister, you have worked hard in the past 3 years. Qinjana felt distressed and walked over to hug her sister's thin body tightly. It's really hard, but it's also because I'm not capable enough. Princess Yu laughed at herself and looked at her sister. If it was you, Jaina, it would be different. You are much more capable than me, and sitting on the throne of the emperor may not be as hard as it is for me. The two sisters talked to each other, and Xia Xingchen sat beside them and listened quietly. 10 days later, Qinjana succeeded to the throne of the empire. The whole world celebrated. Jaina. In the bedroom, Xia Xingchen pinched Qinjana's shoulders and whispered, being an emperor is too tiring. I'm really worried about your health. Qinjana looked tired and smiled and said, it's true. But this is my responsibility. I can hold on and govern the galactic empire better. Let humans live and work in peace and contentment. Xia Xingchen nodded and looked at Qinjana with love in his eyes. Jaina, I believe in your ability. I also have to seize the time to practice. I will even go to the world of heaven in the future. By then, the time we two will meet will be even less. Xingchen, no matter where you are or what your identity is, I will always love you. Qinjana is a strong empress of the empire in front of others, but in front of Xia Xingchen, she is always the pure, lovely, kind and generous girl. Jaina, I will always protect you, the empire, and humanity. I will always be your guardian knight. Xia Xingchen knelt on one knee in front of Qinjana, with his left fist clenched on his chest. Just like the moment when Xia Xingchen vowed to become the guardian knight of Princess Crossing. Xia Xingchen returned to the Star Domain Arc. After meeting many friends, he came to the domain link and connected to the Universal Civilization Network. Carlos was not in the private space, so Xia Xingchen found him in the small bar before. Xia Xingchen found Carlos in front of a table and was slightly surprised. Carlos felt a little different from the past. In the past, Carlos always looked hurried and seemed to always have insufficient time. But now, Carlos looked calm, holding a glass of wine in his hand, looking at the hurried pedestrians on the street with a mocking smile on his face. Carlos, I haven't seen you for 3 years. You feel different from the past. Xia Xingchen sat down at the table and said strangely. Haha, Xingchen, your eyes are really sharp. You can see it at once. Carlos pointed at the pedestrians on the street and said, look at their hurried steps, mediocre, like a group of ants. It's just to make a living. It's like this when you have no money. Xia Xingchen shrugged. Yeah, it's really miserable to have no money. Carlos sighed, raised his head, and drank the wine in his hand, his eyes red. I used to be one of the ants. Now it's a little better, but compared with those big guys, I'm still an ant. No matter what, I still have to thank you for what I have today. Xia Xingchen said blankly. Thank me? Thank me for what? Carlos smiled mysteriously. Thank you for the startup funds you gave me. I used your funds to open a store selling art. Guess how much my assets are now? Oh. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized that he had given Carlos 300,000 universe coins before and asked him to use it to do business. It seems that he made a lot of money. 1.5 million universe coins? Xia Xingchen boldly guessed a number that he thought was exaggerated. Chapter 1641 Summer Stars. 3 years ago, Xia Xingchen only gave Carlos 300,000 universe coins as startup capital. Asking him to invest in business 300,000 universe coins is indeed a huge sum of money for ordinary celestial beings. However, if this money is invested in the vast ocean of capital, it is not even a drop of water. Carlos chose to open an art store. Xia Xingchen once learned a lot of business from his classmate Grandad. The Star Business Alliance he founded is now a first-class large-scale military, industrial, and commercial trade company in the empire. Xia Xingchen knew very well that business was not so easy to do. It was already very good to be able to recover the cost within a year. Being able to double the assets in 2 years can be called a business genius. Xia Xingchen knew Carlos's ability, so he directly said that the 3-year profit would be 5 times. Unexpectedly, Carlos shook his head slowly and smiled proudly. You still guessed less. It's 10 times. My current assets are 3 million universe coins. On this transit island, I have entered the ranks of the middle class. Unlike those mediocre ants on the street. Xia Xingchen took a breath. In 3 years, the assets have increased tenfold. Carlos, what kind of business are you doing? It's too exaggerated. I told you, the handicraft business. Carlos smiled. Come on, I'll take you to see my shop. Xia Xingchen nodded and followed Carlos to a busy street on the transit island. In the most prosperous area, there is a handicraft store called Summer Stars. Summer Stars? Xia Xingchen was stunned and looked at Carlos in surprise. You named this store after me. Carlos shook his head and smiled and said, it's not just a name. This store is fully funded by you. So you are the owner of this store. And I'm just the store manager. Xia Xingchen was stunned and looked at the handicraft store Summer Stars curiously, muttering, my store? Yes, your store. Carlos smiled and walked into the store. Summer Stars is very large, and the interior decoration is also very high-end. The counter is filled with a wide variety of goods for customers to choose from. From time to time, customers come in to choose handicrafts, and the business is indeed booming. 2 beautiful receptionists stood in front of the door, and they immediately smiled and said, welcome. Carlos said, he is not a customer. From now on, he is the owner of this store. The receptionists and the busy clerks inside immediately came over, stood in front of Xia Xingchen, bowed, and said loudly, hello, boss. The guests who were selecting handicrafts around also cast surprised glances at Xia Xingchen. You know, Xia Xingchen's handicraft store is very famous on this commercial street. It took only 3 years for it to grow from an unknown small shop to such a scale. High-level celestial beings often come to this store to select handicrafts. Unexpectedly, the owner of this store is a young man with human appearance, and the energy fluctuations transmitted from him are not strong. Maybe he is a descendant of a wealthy celestial family, and deliberately conceals his identity. The guests speculated in a low voice. Xingchen, let's go to my office. Carlos waved his hand, asking the clerks to continue to greet the guests, and invited Xia Xingchen to the office. Carlos' office is not big, and he maintains his usual frugal style. There is a table, a chair and a cabinet in the office, and no other furniture. It's still a little shabby. There is no way. Although I made some money, I invested it all. Carlos shook his head. I look bright on the outside, but I don't have much spare money in my hands. This is the downside of being a businessman. Xia Xingchen nodded, knowing that this is how business is. Carlos, why did you choose the handicraft business? Do you already understand art? Carlos is an artificial intelligence, with both advantages and disadvantages. In addition to being born without emotions, artificial intelligence also has a disadvantage of not understanding art. I don't know shit. Carlos shook his head and laughed. I don't understand why those strange shaped stones, wood, and glass can sell for so much money. The reason why I chose the handicraft business is that after my investigation, this business is very popular. The profit is extremely high. In fact, for me, no matter what I sell, whether it is arms or handicrafts, it is all the same. Buying low and selling high. The handicraft business is very popular. Xia Xingchen was even more surprised. In addition to humans, other celestial races also understand art. Of course. There are 2 universal languages in the universe, mathematics and art. Carlos laughed. There are many celestial races in the universe. Their civilization is powerful and advanced, and their people have no worries about food and clothing, and they have no enemies. They have been pursuing one thing all their lives, that is, art. It is also because of this that the artworks I purchased at low prices from all over the universe can often be sold at high prices on the Universal Civilization Network. This is a very good business. There are so many strange races in the universe. Xia Xingchen sighed. By the way, Carlos, I came to you this time because of an important matter. Xia Xingchen smiled. I have broken through the boundaries and become a celestial being. Really? That's great. Carlos was stunned at first, then excitedly stood up from the sofa, walked up and held Xia Xingchen's hand tightly. That's great. The two of us can meet soon. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded. But my strength has surpassed that of a celestial being. But how can I integrate into the celestial world? Haha, you should ask me this. I also ascended from the Milky Way. At the beginning, I was also in the dark, suffered a lot, and took many detours. Carlos smiled. Celestial being is a level, and also an identity. A native of a remote planet. By chance, his strength reached the celestial realm. Until his death, he was still the god of that remote planet, unable to join the civilized world of the celestial beings. Therefore, the first thing to do to become a celestial being is to take the assessment and get the identity certificate of a celestial being. Assessment? How to take the assessment? Xia Xingchen frowned in confusion. The assessment is divided into two parts. The first part is the virtual assessment. The assessment location is the Universal Civilization Network. The second part is the on-site assessment. You need to find a way to leave the Milky Way and arrive at the designated planet to take the exam at the specified time. Carlos said excitedly, let's go. I'll take you to register. Pass the virtual assessment first. Okay. Xia Xingchen was also excited and followed Carlos to leave Summer Stars. The location of the virtual assessment is located on an independent planet numbered High 077. The Universal Virtual Universe is very large. But because it is a virtual world, you can teleport from one planet to another by paying a fee, without having to drive a spaceship. Of course, some planets are private territories, and special permissions are required to teleport. Chapter 1642 Heavenly Man Assessment. Swish. Xia Xingchen, under the leadership of Carlos, came to planet High 077, the planet where the Heavenly Man Assessment was held. They appeared in a huge square. The square was very wide, and you couldn't see the end at a glance. The square was full of strange alien creatures, with a population of more than 100,000. So many people. Xia Xingchen couldn't help but smack his lips. This test site in the Universal Universe is the largest one in the entire universe, so of course there are a lot of people. What is held here is just the preliminary qualification exam. Only by passing this exam can you be qualified to participate in the real celestial assessment. Carlos said, according to data from the past 500 years, the pass rate of the preliminary qualification exam is 1 in 100,000. In other words, with so many people in this square, only a dozen can pass the preliminary exam. 1 in 100,000? Xia Xingchen was startled and said in shock, the pass rate is too low. Is it so difficult to become a celestial being? That's a celestial being. There are who knows how many low-level races in the universe are eager to become celestial beings. Of course it's difficult. Carlos paused. A hint of sadness flashed in his eyes. A person is only eligible to participate in the preliminary assessment once a year. But at least the preliminary assessment is not dangerous. Even if you fail, you can come back next year. However, the formal assessment is different. The survival rate is only 1 in 10,000. Athena died in the formal assessment. I was lucky and passed it by chance. Xia Xingchen was shocked. He had heard Carlos say before that Athena died in an accident. Although Carlos has a backup of Athena's data. But with his ability, the Athena he recreated through the backup only has a body without a soul. One of the biggest reasons why Carlos worked so hard to make money was that he wanted to revive Athena. Xia Xingchen only knew at this time that Athena actually died in the Heavenly Man assessment. Athena died, and even Carlos passed by luck, which shows that the Heavenly Man assessment is extremely difficult. Forget it, let's not talk about this. You are going to participate in the preliminary assessment, not the formal assessment. Xingchen, I believe that with your strength, you can pass the preliminary assessment smoothly. As for the formal assessment, we will talk about it later. Carlos whispered. What is the content of the preliminary assessment? Xia Xingchen asked. Of course it's fighting. Only in fighting can a person's true strength be evaluated. You should know that the threshold to become a heavenly man is energy control. Carlos said. Yes. Xia Xingchen nodded. I have mastered the conversion of matter and energy. It is not enough to just master the conversion of matter and energy. The real measure of the strength of the celestial being is how much energy is controlled. The celestial being is divided into 3 major levels: galaxy level, black hole level, and universe level. The 3 major levels are divided into 3 minor levels. In the celestial world, mental power, elemental energy, biological energy, etc. All energy in the universe is measured by stellar energy. According to the data, at least 5 stellar energies must be mastered to have a chance to pass the celestial assessment. Carlos explained. 5 stellar energies? Xia Xingchen was shocked. Is it equivalent to the energy of 5 suns? How is that possible? Ha ha ha. Stellar energy is just a unit of measurement. How can it really be equivalent to the energy of 5 suns? Carlos smiled and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. Don't worry. If even you can't pass the preliminary examination, no life in the universe can pass. Xia Xingchen was relieved. Carlos went to pay the registration fee, and Xia Xingchen, led by a staff member, walked into a light door that suddenly appeared. Come on. Carlos said with a smile. Yeah. Xia Xingchen nodded, took a deep breath, and entered the light gate. Swish. Xia Xingchen was teleported to a magnificent hall. In front of Xia Xingchen was a long team of 100 people, and he stood at the end. The hundreds of people in front were all life forms who came to participate in the preliminary assessment of the celestial being. These life forms were all strange, including huge robots. Some looked humanoid, but their bodies were burning with green flames. There were also creatures that looked like a pool of mud, and some looked like soft marshmallows, but their bodies emitted blow arcs. The universe is infinite, and life is infinite. Carbon-based organisms, artificial intelligence, spiritual bodies, and energy bodies, as long as they have wisdom, power, and can control energy, they have the opportunity to evolve into celestial beings. However, in addition to those weird life forms, Xia Xingchen also saw a lot of life forms that were similar to humans. It's just that the skin color is different, or there are a few more arms and heads. These creatures that are similar to humans have the same origin as ancient humans. No matter how weird the appearance is, the difference in genes is not big, and they are collectively called human race in the universe. There is a natural sense of identity between groups with similar appearances. Other forms of life, seeing Xia Xingchen enter the team, all ignored him. But a few humans turned around and smiled kindly at Xia Xingchen. Although it was just an ordinary smile, it greatly reduced the loneliness in Xia Xingchen's heart. Hello. My name is Green Mando B. A human with green body and hair like seaweed appeared behind Xia Xingchen and greeted him warmly. Hello. Xia Xingchen smiled. My name is Xia Xingchen. Human. Of course. We are all humans. I'm very glad that the one in front of me is a human who can communicate, not some other weird thing. I remember the last time. No, it seems to be the last time. The one in front of me was a ball of dirty jelly. Sorry, I don't know what kind of creature it was. Anyway, it tasted like the mud in the deep sea trench. It was really unlucky. Dobby's memory didn't seem to be very good. He spoke very slowly and had to think for a long time before saying each sentence. Most of the races in the universe do not speak the same language, but in the universe, all languages have been translated and transcoded by the system into languages that Xia Xingchen can understand. So, you have participated in more than one preliminary assessment? Xia Xingchen asked. Of course. I have participated. It seems that I have participated more than 200 times. Doobie straightened his chest and looked proud. What about you? How many times have you participated? This is my first time. Xia Xingchen said. Haha, a newcomer. Congratulations. This is the beginning of a nightmare. No matter how good you are in your own tribe. In this place, you will lose all your halo. You will find that you are not superior to other lives. You will experience failure again and again, and your self-esteem will be completely worn out. Finally, when your mind has been tempered and is indestructible, you may pass the assessment and end this long nightmare. Of course, it is more likely that you will choose to give up, return to your tribe, and continue to be your king. A failed king. Doobie laughed with gloating. Chapter 1643 Grey Silver Messenger. Is there no one who can pass the preliminary examination in one try? Xia Xingchen asked. I have participated in more than 200 examinations and have never encountered such a person. If there is such a genius, he should be the inheritor of a lost civilization. If he shines in the examination, he will soon attract the attention of major forces and be selected as an exception. Doobie looked envious. Major forces? Selected as an exception? Xia Xingchen looked confused. He didn't know much about the world of heaven and man, and his eyes were completely dark. You don't even know this? Newcomer, you are too reckless. Before taking the examination, you must do the basic homework. Doobie sighed. In this way, the tiny chance of you passing the examination successfully will shrink again, and is infinitely close to zero. But it's okay. At least you can accumulate valuable experience and prepare for the next time. Haha. Xia Xingchen laughed dryly. Carlos didn't tell him some information. Xia Xingchen also understood why Carlos did this. Carlos was sure that he would pass the preliminary examination and didn't need to understand these so-called basic homework at all. There are two kinds of celestial beings. One kind has a tribe. Celestial beings with tribes have their own forces in the celestial world. Their descendants are born celestial beings. They can also get some celestial quotas every year, so that their companion tribes can obtain celestial qualifications. These celestial beings with tribes and backgrounds do not need to participate in the celestial assessment. The other kind is people like you and me who have no tribe or background, and are called scattered celestial beings. There is no other way out, except to participate in the assessment to obtain celestial qualifications. In order to protect themselves, scattered celestial beings unite and form various forces. There are guilds, mercenary groups, and companies. The strength of some forces is very strong, even surpassing those celestial beings with tribes. These forces often select the best from the assessment, recruit them to join, and spend a lot of resources to cultivate them. Doobie was very enthusiastic and talked incessantly. Xia Xingchen listened quietly and had a deeper understanding of the celestial world. The team was getting shorter and shorter, and many more examinees came behind Xia Xingchen and Doobie. A staff member with a silver hood and whose face could not be seen came over, holding a silver metal sheet in his hand, and asked, "Human, Xia Xingchen, from the Milky Way. Your first battle is about to begin. Please choose the weapon you are good at." Weapons? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled. Yes, weapons. Since it is a battle, you must use weapons. Cold weapons, kinetic weapons, laser weapons, you can choose. Please rest assured that all weapons have been balanced by the committee to ensure absolute fairness. The staff member said. Swish. A weapon list appeared in front of Xia Xingchen, with tens of thousands of weapons to choose from. There are cold weapons such as swords, and various types of guns, and even heavy weapons such as airplanes, tanks, and artillery, and of course mechas. This weapon list covers almost all weapon forms in the universe. And it also supports customization, but the lethality of customized weapons is equal to that of other weapons. Xia Xingchen didn't understand at first, how could the lethality of cold weapons be compared with guns, let alone mechas? After Doobie's explanation, Xia Xingchen figured it out. There are too many races in the universe, and they are good at different weapons. Some races just like cold weapons, and they use the power of cold weapons to the extreme. For example, the blood shadow knife in the list can knock down a building with one blow. The guns inside are also so powerful. The power of the mecha is just to knock down a building. This is balance. Xia Xingchen didn't think much about it. The weapon he is good at is the mecha. He said directly, the weapon I choose is the mecha. The model doesn't matter, and the battle venue doesn't matter. The staff looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise, and without saying much, he recorded the information, and then put the silver metal sheet on his chest and said, Xia Xingchen, this is your identity plate. If you win 100 games in a row, you can pass the preliminary assessment. I don't need a weapon. Doobie is an old hand, and he immediately said, I choose a desert terrain, preferably a hot desert with 3 stars. The staff recorded Doobie's requirements, and continued to ask the next assessor. Xia Xingchen, you are actually a mecha master? You are finished. You will never pass the assessment. Doobie whispered. Why? Xia Xingchen frowned. Mecha technology is a marginal technology in the universe. Only some groups of our human race, due to their weak physical bodies, can only rely on mechas to make up for their combat effectiveness, and will they study and develop mecha technology. It is undeniable that the combat effectiveness of mecha masters is very strong, and they are also the best in the world of heaven and man. However, mecha masters often rely too much on mechas. Although their mechas are powerful, their bodies are too weak. And in order to balance the weapons, the mechas provided in the preliminary examination of heaven and man are of poor performance. Think about it, the lethality of mecha is about the same as that of a knife. Are you really sure you can pass the examination? Doobie explained. Well, you make sense. Xia Xingchen nodded. Doobie's words hit the nail on the head, not only pointing out his own shortcomings, but also pointing out the shortcomings of mankind. Humans are indeed too dependent on mechas. However, human civilization is like this. Since we have chosen to develop mecha technology, we can't turn back, and can only keep going. Galaxy, Xia Xingchen. Get ready, your first battle is about to begin. A cold electronic voice sounded. The scenery in front of Xia Xingchen suddenly changed. The magnificent hall disappeared, and the surroundings turned into a vast sea of stars. Xia Xingchen was in the cockpit of a silver-gray mecha. Gray-silver messenger. Height 22.33 meters. Basic performance is equivalent to that of the Revenger Knight. Xia Xingchen immediately checked the optical computer and found the basic parameters of this mecha. The performance of this mecha is equivalent to the original version of the Revenge Knight developed by Xia Xingchen himself. The mecha made by Shinran's technology is naturally not so weak. It's just that the performance of the mecha has been greatly weakened in order to balance the weapons. Swish. A group of warriors wearing black armor and holding various weapons appeared in the starry sky in front of Xia Xingchen. They exuded powerful energy fluctuations, and each of them was equivalent to the legendary level. Kill. The black armored warriors were murderous, waving their weapons, and rushed towards Xia Xingchen with an impressive momentum. Dubby is right. Choosing mecha as a weapon is really a disadvantage. If it were other mecha masters, they might have to be in a mess. Xia Xingchen smiled. The silver-gray messenger driven by Xia Xingchen was only equivalent to a Class B mecha. However, in addition to the mecha, Xia Xingchen also possessed a strong mental power. Xia Xingchen had already mastered the creation. He did not need the help of the mecha. His mental power alone was enough to be promoted to a celestial being. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1644 Star Trek Mercenary Group. Spiral Flying Drill. Following Xia Xingchen's deep shout, hundreds of silver spiral drill heads appeared behind the silver-gray messenger's mecha. After Xia Xingchen mastered creation, his control over energy had reached a very profound level, and he no longer needed the divine weapon system to directly condense spiral flying drills. The black armored warriors were all virtual, and they didn't know what death was. Like a black meteor, they rushed towards Xia Xingchen. Go. Xia Xingchen had no intention of dodging, and pointed his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The narrow silver spiral flying drill, like a rainstorm, instantly pierced the black armored warrior in the front with thousands of holes, and his whole body exploded, and turned into a ball of blood mist. The other black armored warriors continued to charge, and were also hit one after another, turning into pools of blood, and disappearing in the starry sky. In an instant, all 24 black armored warriors were killed. The outer shell of the silver-gray messenger's mecha was as smooth as new, without a single stain of blood. Xia Xingchen, congratulations on passing the first battle. It took 7 seconds and the score is S. The cold electronic voice sounded again. You can choose to continue fighting or rest. You have a total of 5 rest opportunities. It's just the first battle. Of course I will continue fighting. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly. No wonder Carlos was so confident in himself. Judging from the first battle, the difficulty was not high. The second battle started immediately. The battle scene switched to the planet, which was a lush tropical rainforest. The enemy was still those black armored warriors, but the number doubled from 24 to 48. The combat effectiveness of the black armored warriors did not increase significantly. No matter how many people there were, it was meaningless to Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen condensed hundreds of spiral flying drills again, and won easily again. The second battle took 12 seconds and the score was S. The electronic voice immediately reported the result of the battle. Do you want to continue fighting? Of course. Xia Xingchen did not feel tired at all. The next battle was about to begin. A battle ended in a few seconds. Xia Xingchen's fighting speed was amazing. For general examinees, it takes between 5 and 10 minutes to finish a battle. There are also some special examinees who are extremely good at defense, and the time will be longer. Moreover, the longer the battle lasts, the more energy is consumed. After a few battles, general examinees have to stop and rest. First, wait for the lost energy to recover. Second, they need to stop and think about it, and make a battle plan for the next battle. But Xia Xingchen doesn't need it, because he can easily crush the enemy with his strength, and there is no need to think about tactics. Other examinees have just started the second battle. Xia Xingchen has already started the 10th battle. When other examinees ran out of energy and applied for a rest, Xia Xingchen rushed to the 40th battle in one breath. All his battles were rated S. Xia Xingchen still did not choose to rest, but continued to fight frantically. By the 40th battle, the enemies had reached the quasi-celestial realm, and there were many of them, more than 100. However, these enemies could not break through Xia Xingchen's star barrier defense, and could only be slaughtered unilaterally by the spiral drill. In the 40th battle, I finally felt some pressure. Xia Xingchen smiled happily. He felt very bored in the previous battle, and even yawned, and almost fell asleep. The current battle finally aroused some interest in Xia Xingchen. How can the celestial preliminary examination be so simple? And there are so many examinees who cannot pass? The pass rate is as low as 1 in 100,000, and that do be, who failed to pass after 200 attempts. He can only take the exam once a year, which is 200 years. He is too weak. Xia Xingchen thought for a while, and came up with the answer. It's not that other races are weak, but that humans are too strong. In the celestial world, bloodline is supreme. With strong bloodline and high talent, the combat power is naturally strong. Duba's race may have taken tens of thousands of years, and by chance, he was born a strong man who had the hope of becoming a celestial. He did not have any inheritance, and only relied on opportunities and hard work to get to where he is today. Xia Xingchen is completely different. He is the inheritor of ancient humans. Ancient humans were once the 13th advanced civilization in the universe, not much different from the 10 great gods. In the end, the Eternal God Clan, one of the 10 great gods, united many celestial races to destroy the civilization of ancient humans and remove them from the starry sky. Humans are born strong, born to be superior to many races in the universe. In addition, Xia Xingchen also has the source of faith, which makes his mental power extremely strong. And he has rich combat experience. All these factors combined make Xia Xingchen's combat power extremely amazing. Planet High 077. Celestial Pre-Selection Assessment Center, VIP Area Number 1. Agents of major human forces gathered here, all looking at the virtual screen in their hands with surprise. My god. There is an assessor who has fought 40 consecutive games, and each of them has an S score. It's a human named Xia Xingchen, from the Milky Way. What is that place? Why haven't I heard of it? It seems to be an abandoned land, and no celestial being has been born for tens of thousands of years. No matter where this human named Xia Xingchen came from, this person, my Cold Axe mercenary group wants him. Don't compete with me for him. A huge bear man covered with black hair stood up and shouted loudly. Can you train such a good talent with your Cold Axe mercenary group? Give it to Ninghe Pavilion. Haha, your Ninghe Pavilion is not much better than Cold Axe. It's a waste to give it to you. We can't do it, but your Vibranium Society can. The agents of these big forces are all well-known figures in the heavenly human realm. At this moment, they are arguing with each other, all wanting to win over Xia Xingchen and let him join their forces. A mecha master who has fought 40 consecutive battles and all has S scores is rare even in the heavenly human realm. Most importantly, Xia Xingchen comes from an abandoned galaxy in a remote and poor place. Once he is trained, he will definitely work hard for the organization. Even if the organization does not have enough resources to train him, at least he will not fall into the hands of other forces, which indirectly weakens the opponent. Just when many forces were arguing, a sloppy man in dirty armor walked into the noble area. His skin was dark red, he was nearly 3 meters tall, and he had a lazy smile on his face. The sloppy man was alone, not good looking, and no one even noticed him. He walked to the virtual screen and checked the record of the examinees this time. His eyes gradually brightened. 40 consecutive wins. Mecha Master? Cough. The sloppy man suddenly coughed. It was just a simple cough, and the agents of the major forces present were all startled, and the VIP area suddenly became quiet. Everyone, this human named Xia Xingchen is wanted by my Zingy mercenary group. You have no objection, right? The sloppy man smiled faintly, but his words were full of unquestionable power. Chapter 1645, Winning Over. Star Trek Mercenary Group. One of the 3 major forces of the human race. That's right, it's someone from Star Trek. There's a Star Trek logo on his armor. Yes, a 2-star mercenary from the Star Trek Mercenary Group. He should be the captain of a mercenary team. The human race warriors in the VIP area were all shocked, their eyes fixed on the sloppy man, and they were all whispering, but no one stood up to oppose the sloppy man's words. The Star Trek Mercenary Group, the Chaos Legion, and the Guild of Light. These 3 forces are the 3 top forces of the human race in the Shinran realm. Compared with these 3 forces, the organizations present can only be considered second-rate or third-rate. In the Star Trek Mercenary Group, there are 5-star level mercenaries. 1 star is the lowest and 5 stars are the highest. This sloppy man is only a 2-star mercenary, but no one dares to oppose what he said. This shows how powerful the Star Trek Mercenary Group is. Hey, since the people from Zingy specifically asked for Xia Xingchen, what else can we say? Yeah? Although Xia Xingchen has good talent and is a good seedling, it will take a lot of resources to cultivate him. It's not worth it to make enemies with the Zingy mercenary group for him. This kid is lucky. He is so lucky to be able to join the Zingy mercenary group. The human race strongmen present weighed the pros and cons in their hearts, and finally had to choose to give in. A 2-star mercenary from the Zingy mercenary group was not something they could offend. Thank you all for giving me Gabriel face. I'll treat everyone to a drink. The sloppy man laughed and waved his hand generously. After a while, a waiter came over and placed a glass of wine in front of each human race strongman. There is a small bar in the VIP area, but the price of the drinks is very expensive. There are hundreds of human race strongmen present, and 1 glass per person will cost tens of thousands of universe coins. While drinking, the human race warriors were all impressed by the generosity of the Star Trek Mercenary Group. Just a 2-star mercenary was so generous. Gabriel picked up a glass of wine, raised his head, and drank it all, then walked out of the VIP area, went straight to the rest area, sat on the sofa and waited quietly. On the other side, Xia Xingchen had fought 60 games in a row, and most of his mental energy was consumed. He chose to stop fighting, and took a break. Swish. Xia Xingchen's figure flashed and appeared in the rest area. The rest area provides free food and drinks, and there are also quiet rooms for examinees to meditate. Xia Xingchen sat at a table, asked for a drink and a meal, and ate slowly. It's Xia Xingchen from the Milky Way. He won 60 games in a row, and the rating for each game was S level, or less level. Is it so terrifying? There were already many examinees in the rest area, looking at Xia Xingchen, with shock on their faces, and whispering. Under the omniscience of Xia Xingchen, all these discussions could not escape his ears, but he turned a deaf ear to them, and continued to eat his food slowly. The examinees had heard about Xia Xingchen's shocking record, and wanted to come over to get close to him. But when they saw the sloppy man with dark red skin sitting not far from Xia Xingchen, they all gave up tactfully. At this time, the tall, sloppy man with dark red skin came over, sat opposite Xia Xingchen, and smiled and stretched out his hand to him. Star Trek Mercenary Group, Gabriel. Xia Xingchen took a tissue, wiped his hands, and then shook hands with Gabriel. Gabriel. It seems that you are a big shot, and are interested in me. Others are afraid of you, and don't even dare to come over to talk to me. Gabriel smiled. Smart, sharp observation. You are indeed a good seedling. You should have heard of the Star Trek Mercenary Group. I invite you to join. Star Trek. Xia Xingchen searched for memories about Star Trek in his mind. Carlos did mention the Star Trek Mercenary Group, which is one of the three major forces of the human race. However, the celestial realm is too large and has many forces. In addition to the scattered organizations composed of celestial beings, there are also many racial forces, such as the 10 peak gods. Therefore, Xia Xingchen did not have a clear concept of the strength of the Star Trek Mercenary Group. Are there any benefits to joining the Star Trek Mercenary Group? Xia Xingchen asked. Benefits? Gabriel was stunned. You know, the threshold of the Star Trek Mercenary Group is very high, and members are rarely selected publicly. There is only one way to join the mercenary group, which is to be recommended by members of the mercenary group. Even for a 2-star mercenary like Gabriel, the number of recommended places is pitiful, only 2. These 2 places were left in his mercenary team when 2 of Gabriel's comrades died in the last mission. Xia Xingchen. Although you are very talented, in my opinion, you are not qualified to join Zingy. It's just that one of my good friends is a mecha master like you. He died in the last mission. A mecha master position is vacant in my team. So, I came to win you over. Gabriel said, of course. If you are willing to join Zingy and join my team, I will give you a gift. The premise is that you can successfully pass the preliminary assessment. Xia Xingchen looked at Gabriel and fell into silence. Xia Xingchen knew very little about the world of heaven and man. Gabriel's words were sincere, without deliberately beating around the bush, nor did he speak without thinking, and make many flashy promises. The most important thing is that Gabriel seems to value friendship. This also made Xia Xingchen have some good feelings for this seemingly sloppy man. However, this good feeling alone was not enough for Xia Xingchen to agree to join the Zingy mercenary group. Xia Xingchen has always liked to be alone, and does not like to join an organization, especially an organization with strict rules and regulations, and let the rules and regulations of the organization constrain himself. However, the Star Trek Mercenary Group is one of the 3 major forces of the human race after all. This may be a rare opportunity. Xia Xingchen would not be willing to waste this opportunity because of ignorance. I need to ask my friend to help me make a decision. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment and decided to let Carlos help him decide whether to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group. Carlos' decision must be right. Of course. Gabriel nodded. Joining the Star Trek Mercenary Group is a big deal, and I don't want you to make a hasty decision. Moreover, being able to listen to your friend's opinions shows that you are not a stubborn person. My team does not need such a player, but my friend is not qualified to enter the rest area. Xia Xingchen said. It's a small matter. Tell me your friend's name, and I'll let him in. Gabriel said with a smile. As a 2-star mercenary of the Star Trek Mercenary Group, he has many privileges. His name is Carlos. Xia Xingchen said. Chapter 1646, Equality of Life. Soon Carlos was taken to the rest area by the staff, and met Xia Xingchen and Gabriel. Xingchen, is your assessment going well? How many wins have you made? What's your score? Information about Xia Xingchen's assessment was only circulated internally. Carlos had not heard about it outside, and he didn't know that Xia Xingchen had already caused a stir and attracted the attention of countless bigwigs. I've played 50 or 60 games, and my score is okay. Xia Xingchen said lightly. Well, I knew you could do it. Carlos walked up and patted Xia Xingchen on the shoulder. Next, work harder. By the way, why did you ask me to the rest area? And why do you have the right to let me, an outsider, into the rest area? Xia Xingchen introduced Carlos and Gabriel to each other. There is an important matter that I need your advice on. This is Mr. Gabriel. This is my close friend Carlos. Hello, Mr. Gabriel. I'm Carlos. Carlos extended his right hand in a friendly manner. Gabriel did not shake hands with Carlos. He looked at him with surprise, turned to Xia Xingchen and asked, "Isn't your friend a human?" Xia Xingchen nodded. "Yes, he is an artificial intelligence. Why is it not possible?" Gabriel shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Everyone has the right to choose friends. However, it is quite rare for humans and an artificial intelligence to become friends." Gabriel stretched out his hand, shook it lightly with Carlos, and said, "Star Trek Mercenary Group, Gabriel. In fact, I plan to invite your friend Xia Xingchen to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group. But he must listen to your opinion." Star Trek Mercenary Group. Carlos was shocked, his mouth opened wide, staring at Xia Xingchen blankly, his voice trembling. "Xingchen, is what he said true?" "It's true," Xia Xingchen said lightly. "Oh my god. The Star Trek Mercenary Group. One of the 3 top forces of the human race. Xingchen, you are so lucky. The Star Trek Mercenary Group actually took the initiative to invite you to join. Oh my god. Am I dreaming?" Carlos shook his head and laughed at himself. "No. I'm an artificial intelligence and I never dream." "Carlos, is the Star Trek Mercenary Group really that strong?" Xia Xingchen asked curiously. "Of course. The strength of the Star Trek Mercenary Group is very strong, even surpassing many celestial races. There are many benefits to joining the mercenary group. If you have excellent talent, the top management will also take out a lot of resources to train you. Your strength will improve by leaps and bounds. You don't have to fight alone like me. It's too hard." In addition to shock, Carlos' eyes also showed deep envy. "Do you mean I should join?" Xia Xingchen asked. "Join? Of course. Only a fool would not join." Carlos clenched his fists and said excitedly, "You humans are so lucky. As long as you show extraordinary talent, there will be forces to win you over. It's not like us mechanical people. Almost all of us are alone, and we are also hostile to each other. It's really miserable." Haha. Xia Xingchen, you have a good friend who gave you a good suggestion. Of course, the final decision is in your hands. Gabriel laughed loudly. In his opinion, it was a sure thing for Xia Xingchen to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group. Xia Xingchen pondered for a moment, looked up at Gabriel, and said seriously, "It's not impossible for me to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group. But I have a condition. As long as you can agree to this condition, I don't want those gifts." "Tell me," Gabriel said. "My friend Carlos also wants to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group, so I will join. This is my condition," Xia Xingchen said slowly. Gabriel's face suddenly changed, his eyes turned slightly red, and he looked a little angry. "Xia Xingchen, are you kidding? How many qualifications do you think you need to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group? What's more, the Star Trek Mercenary Group is a human force, and most of its members are humans. Your friend is a mechanical race. How can I let him join?" Carlos was also stunned. He pulled Xia Xingchen's clothes from behind and whispered, "Xingchen, forget it. You don't have to worry about me. Just join the Star Trek Mercenary Group by yourself. This opportunity is unique. If you miss it, you will regret it for the rest of your life." Xia Xingchen looked at Carlos seriously and said in a deep voice, "Don't you want to join the Star Trek Mercenary Group?" Carlos lowered his head and whispered, "I would like to. But the Star Trek Mercenary Group is a human force after all. I'm an alien after all." Xia Xingchen shook his head. "In my opinion, all lives are equal. There is no difference. It doesn't matter what race you are. The important thing is that you are my friend, my best friend. Xingchen." Carlos was very moved, with tears flashing in his eyes. "Mr. Gabriel, I'm very grateful for your invitation. However, as I said before, unless you let my friend join the Star Trek Mercenary Group, I will never join." After Xia Xingchen finished speaking, he turned and entered the light gate and resumed the battle. Gabriel's face was gloomy, staring at Xia Xingchen's back as he disappeared into the light gate without saying a word. Carlos was filled with panic, walked up to Gabriel, and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry, Mr. Gabriel, my friend has just ascended from a poor and remote place to the world of heaven and man, and doesn't understand the rules here. I'm sorry, Mr. Gabriel, my friend has just ascended from a poor and remote place to the world of heaven and man, and doesn't understand the rules here. I'm very magnanimous, please don't mind. I will persuade him again." and he will definitely change his mind. Gabriel waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "No need." Carlos felt cold in his heart. Xia Xingchen had many enemies. The spirit race heaven and man, the mechanical race heaven and man, and even the eternal race of gods. None of them are people that Xia Xingchen can't afford to offend now. The world of heaven and man is a world where the weak are eaten by the strong and the strong are respected. If Xia Xingchen's enemies knew that he had ascended to the heaven realm, they would definitely attack him without mercy. Xia Xingchen has not yet realized the seriousness of the problem. There is only one way for him to survive in the heaven realm, that is, to find a big force to rely on. The Star Trek mercenary group is a good choice. Moreover, the Star Trek mercenary group has a good reputation and can enjoy many benefits, which is of great benefit to improving strength. However, Xia Xingchen gave up this unique opportunity for himself and even angered Gabriel. Carlos blamed himself, but he could hear that Gabriel seemed to hate artificial intelligence. Even if he begged for mercy, it would only anger him more. Carlos just bent over, lowered his head, and looked servile, not knowing what to do. At this time, Gabriel suddenly smiled and said, "Carlos, I can see that you and Xia Xingchen have a really good relationship. It's a miracle that humans and mechanical races can become good friends. I'm even more interested in this kid Xia Xingchen. Can you tell me about him? I'm very curious about what kind of person he is." Chapter 1647 New Conspiracy. Xia Xingchen entered the virtual space and continued to fight to complete the remaining assessments. The remaining 40 battles were more difficult than the previous ones, but Xia Xingchen still passed them easily. Xia Xingchen had already mastered the transformation of matter and energy and was able to create things with strength surpassing the level of celestial beings. Coupled with the natural advantage of human bloodline and the assistance of the source of faith, Xia Xingchen shined in the assessment and attracted the attention of various forces. At the beginning, only the celestial beings of the human race paid attention to Xia Xingchen. Because Xia Xingchen's record was too amazing, the celestial beings of other life forms also focused their attention on him. The battle scores of all the games are amazing to amazing. In the near future, it is very likely that another strong man will be born in the human race. Galaxy level, or even black hole level? How far can this human called Xia Xingchen go? In the VIP area number 2, a humanoid life with green flames burning all over his body burst into a strange light in his pupils. This is the gathering place of energy life. In addition to this green fireman, other energy life also nodded. Energy body life, born good at manipulating energy, is far more powerful than the human race. However, even the best among them could not get an S-level score in every battle. All the strong men present from the energy life, Zerg, and mechanical races were paying attention to Xia Xingchen. Of course, there were also spiritual bodies among them. In the VIP area number 5, Zam, a celestial elder, looked at the familiar human figure on the screen with a cold face, gritted his teeth, and his eyes were burning with rage. "That's right. It's him. I'm definitely not mistaken. He is the Mecha master who leads humans. In the universe, his name is also Xia Xingchen, and he doesn't hide it at all. So arrogant. But, this is the celestial realm. We can crush you to death like a bug with just a flick of our fingers." Zam's mouth corners slightly curled up, revealing a cold smile on his face. Zam is the celestial elder who appeared in the Milky Way. All along, it was Zam who was responsible for inciting and dividing humans, and provoking the civil war between the North and the Empire. In this war, countless humans died, and countless planets turned into scorched earth. Zam is the mastermind behind it. Zam spent a lot of effort on a plan that he thought was foolproof, but in the end, it was destroyed by Xia Xingchen. How could Zam not be angry? What made the Elder Celestials even more angry than the plan being destroyed was that the well of life was destroyed, and the evolutionary path of the lizards was cut off. This means that it is impossible for the lizards to ascend to become celestials in a short period of time. The Elder Celestials are spiritual beings with a long lifespan, but they have no ability to reproduce. The only way for them to replenish their population is for the lizards to ascend to become celestials. However, this path was cut off. A race that cannot reproduce has only one ending: extinction. The Elder Celestials were originally a mysterious group of celestials, very autistic. In the eyes of the elder celestials, they are more noble than these scattered celestials. Therefore, they rarely disdain to be exposed to the public before. The celestial assessment of Planet High 077 was also the first time for the elder celestials to participate. In order to continue and replenish new blood, the elder celestials must put down their arrogance in their bones. The path of the lizard's ascension was cut off, and the spirits could only attract other spiritual beings to join their tribe, to keep the tribe going. Of course, doing so would make the tribe lose its purity. However, the tribe has begun to die out, and purity has a much lower priority than survival. Universe. I used to think that it was a shame for the noble spirits to attract other spiritual beings to join their tribe. Now I know that everything is predetermined. If I hadn't gone to Planet High 077, how could I have met you? Xia Xingchen. Zam grinned. I won't let you become a celestial being. Absolutely not. I must kill you. Kill you immediately. But how to kill him? Zam thought for a while, but couldn't think of a foolproof way. Report this to the leader first. He is the wisest person in the spirit tribe, and he must have a way. Zam left the VIP area and contacted Abel, the leader of the spirits. Swish. After receiving the message, Abel immediately linked to the Universal Civilization Network and teleported to the Planet High 077 to join Zam. Abel's appearance was similar to Zam, a humanoid creature emitting white light all over his body, but he was taller and the light on his body was more dazzling. Zam. Are you serious? In just 3 short years, the human who destroyed the well of life has ascended to heaven and created an amazing record in the preliminary assessment? Abel's face was full of disbelief. Chief, it is true. Zam pointed to the screen, where Xia Xingchen was fighting. I'm sure it must be him. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We must get rid of him. Abel's face was murderous. The question is how to get rid of him. This is a virtual space, and physical attacks are completely ineffective. But we, the spirit race, can perform soul attacks. Completely destroy his consciousness and turn him into a vegetable. However, we must prevent him from becoming a celestial being. Below the celestial being, everyone is an ant. Killing an ant will not be punished. If he passes the test and becomes a celestial being, we will risk being punished if we kill him again. Zam said. Zam, what do you think? Abel looked at Zam. Bribe. Our spirit race is somewhat famous in the celestial world, and we have the Eternal God clan as our backer. Even the Universe clan, who controls the Universe Civilization Network, has to give us some face. We bribe the staff here to increase the difficulty of Xia Xingchen's battle so that he cannot pass the preliminary examination. Then we will take action and destroy his consciousness. The spirit race is good at conspiracy and trickery, and Zam is also full of bad water, and he said an extremely sinister plan. Zam was also very satisfied with his plan, and he looked up proudly, waiting for the leader's praise. Zam, your plan is still not thorough enough. Abel looked disappointed and shook his head slowly. Chief, I don't understand. Or do you have a better plan? Zam was stunned. His words were respectful, but his tone was quite unconvinced. Let me first talk about the shortcomings of your plan. First, we don't have any friendship with the Universe clan. They may not accept our bribes. Second, even if they accept bribes, the Universe clan is extremely rich. How many Universe coins do we need to bribe to buy off the staff? Third, Xia Xingchen's performance is very eye-catching, and many forces are paying attention to him. If the difficulty of the battle is suddenly increased, are other forces all fools and blind people who can't see it? Abel said slowly. Chief, you are right. It is indeed my inconsiderateness. Zam suddenly realized that his plan looked good, but in fact it was full of loopholes, and was not feasible at all. I do have a plan. A brilliant plan to make Xia Xingchen fall into ruin. Abel smiled coldly. Chapter 1648, Heavenly Man Quota. Abel, the leader of the celestial beings of the spirit tribe, slowly spoke out a more sinister plan. Your plan is to stop Xia Xingchen from becoming a celestial being. My plan is just the opposite, to help him become a celestial being. We in the spirit tribe still have a celestial being quota, which can allow anyone to pass the exam and obtain the celestial being status. We will lure him to the spirit tribe and find an excuse to execute him. Who can care if our spirit tribe executes one of its own? Zam was completely stunned. Compared to his own plan, Abel's plan was much more clever. This was no longer a conspiracy, but an open conspiracy. But chief, the celestial being quota is extremely precious. Our tribe spent a lot of money to get one. Should we waste it on Xia Xingchen? Zam was a little unwilling. Zam, if we don't kill Xia Xingchen, it will be difficult to wash away the shame of our tribe. Compared to the dignity of our tribe, a mere celestial being quota, what does it count for? Abel said coldly. Leader, you are right. At all costs, we must kill Xia Xingchen. Zam also had a murderous look on his face. Virtual space. Xia Xingchen passed the 85th battle. Xia Xingchen breathed a sigh of relief, feeling a little tired. It's almost over. There are only 15 more games left. Try harder. Xia Xingchen raised his hand, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and smiled. This kind of hearty battle. It's really refreshing. And it's also very beneficial to my strength improvement. Xia Xingchen's understanding of the use of energy has become more thorough through continuous fighting. Just as Xia Xingchen was preparing for the next battle, he was suddenly teleported out of the virtual space and into a hall with a dark red ceiling. The hall was empty, except for a man wearing a silver mask who walked over. On his chest was the emblem of the Universal Company, a dark starry sky vortex. I'm the person in charge of Planet High 077. You can call me Mr. Yin. Congratulations, Xia Xingchen. Your performance is extremely outstanding and has won the favor of a high-level celestial race. They used a celestial quota to allow you to pass the assessment and obtain the celestial qualification. Mr. Yin politely congratulated Xia Xingchen. High-level celestial race. A celestial quota? Xia Xingchen's head was dizzy, and he had not yet fully reacted. So, I have passed the preliminary assessment? I don't need to participate in the remaining dozen battles. No, not just the remaining dozen battles. The celestial quota has a high authority, and you don't even need to participate in the formal assessment. Mr. Yin smiled and shook his head. You only need to accept the invitation of this high-level celestial race, and you can directly become a celestial. Xia Xingchen's body shook, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face, and a trace of vigilance arose in his heart. Is there really such a good thing that falls from the sky? Which celestial race? Xia Xingchen asked cautiously. They are waiting for you behind this door. You will know when you see them. Mr. Yin waved his hand, and a light gate appeared behind him, generating a strong suction force, pulling him in directly. But Xia Xingchen felt dizzy, opened his eyes, and found himself in a grey space. Everything here was grey, lifeless, without a trace of life. Swish. Two figures appeared in front of Xia Xingchen, looking at Xia Xingchen with cold faces and murderous intent. Spirit Clan. Xia Xingchen's heart skipped a beat when he saw the two figures. From the spiritual fluctuations transmitted from them, Xia Xingchen recognized that they were celestial beings of the Spirit Clan. Xia Xingchen reacted very quickly and immediately retreated, trying to leave through the light gate. However, the light gate had disappeared. Xia Xingchen, you have fallen into our hands. You can't escape now. Zam grinned. You are colluding with the people of Universal Company? Xia Xingchen couldn't believe it. Collusion? If we have this ability, do we need to spend a quota of heavenly beings to trick you here? That Mr. Yin is also doing things according to the rules. After all, we paid a quota as a price. This is an open conspiracy. You can't escape. Zam laughed. This is a virtual universe. You can't kill me. Xia Xingchen tried to disconnect the domain communicator and let his consciousness return to his body. However, Xia Xingchen was surprised to find that his consciousness still stayed in this grey space and was imprisoned. Want to cut off the connection? Naive. This grey space is full of the secrets of our spirit race. Even if you cut off the connection, the consciousness can't leave. There is only one end for you, that is, your consciousness will be completely destroyed by us. Ha ha ha. However, if you hand over the mysterious crystal pyramid, we may consider sparing your life. Zam has not forgotten that Xia Xingchen owns a magical crystal pyramid. The spirit race heavenly beings know that Xia Xingchen is the inheritor of the ancient humans. The reason why the ancient humans perished was because they obtained a divine artifact and were hated by the eternal gods, so they were destroyed. However, the eternal gods destroyed the civilization of the ancient humans, but did not find the artifact. The elders discussed and believed that the crystal pyramid in Xia Xingchen's hand was probably the artifact that the ancient humans had obtained in the legend. The well of life of the lizards was destroyed, and the elders needed a new evolutionary channel. If the crystal pyramid was really an artifact, it would allow the entire lizards to ascend, and the elders would even be qualified to compete for the top 10 peak gods. Thinking of this, both Abel and Zam were excited. Before killing Xia Xingchen, they had to find out the secret of the crystal pyramid. Dream. Xia Xingchen said coldly, looking for death. Abel, who had been silent all the time, suddenly stretched out his hand, and a white light shot out from his palm, covering Xia Xingchen. Ah! Xia Xingchen let out a heart-wrenching scream, feeling waves of blackness in front of his eyes, and a very painful tearing feeling came from his soul, and he felt that his soul was about to be chopped into pieces. The elders have a deep study of the spirit and soul. Torturing and interrogating from the soul level is what they are best at and like best. Ha ha ha. So comfortable. Torture this human kid. So cool. Abel and Sam both grinned, feeling indescribably happy. Puff. In such torture, Xia Xingchen's 7 orifices bled, and a lot of blood spurted out of his mouth, looking extremely miserable. The virtual image of the universe is equivalent to Xia Xingchen's spiritual body. Xia Xingchen had no ability to resist the spirit race, and his spiritual body was greatly traumatized. Zam, help this kid recover. Don't let him die like this. We still have to torture him to find out the whereabouts of the crystal pyramid. Seeing that Xia Xingchen could not hold on, Abel retracted the white light and said to Zam, haha, let him be unable to live or die. Leader, you are still smart. Zam laughed and walked to Xia Xingchen. The green light emanated from his palm, instantly healing his injuries. Xia Xingchen had just recovered when the white light in Abel's hand shone on him again, and his soul was torn apart again, causing him extreme pain. Chapter 1649 Price. Rest area. Gabriel and Collis sat together. The cynical and casual smile on their faces was swept away, and their expressions were extremely focused, listening to Carlos telling about Xia Xingchen's deeds in the Milky Way. Carlos talked for 2 hours and roughly finished. A long time had passed, and Gabriel was still immersed in Xia Xingchen's story, unable to extricate himself for a long time. Carlos, these things you said are all real. Xia Xingchen has experienced them, not a story you made up. Gabriel finally came back to his senses, his face full of disbelief. Every word is true. Artificial intelligence will not lie. Carlos said hurriedly. Wonderful. Xia Xingchen's life is so wonderful. I didn't expect that in the Milky Way, a remote galaxy, there is actually a huge human galactic empire. War. Love. Palace coup. The birth of a hero. No wonder Xia Xingchen immediately shined when he arrived in the heavenly realm. He is a real hero. A piece of real gold. He will shine wherever he goes. Gabriel sighed. Mr. Gabriel, so you have forgiven Xingchen? Carlos said in surprise. Heroes always have some weird tempers. What's more, I can understand him. He values you, and the friendship between you two. For friendship, he can give up the good opportunity to join the Zingy mercenary group. This is also why I admire him. Gabriel smiled and said, don't worry, I will talk to Xia Xingchen again after he finishes the battle. Carlos, you have to help me convince your friend. Yes, I will definitely convince him. Carlos nodded quickly. With your words, I feel relieved. I will definitely persuade Xia Xingchen to join the Zingy mercenary group. I'm optimistic about him. Gabriel was full of confidence. At this moment, Gabriel suddenly found that Xia Xingchen had left the virtual space. Huh? What's going on? Did he choose to rest? Gabriel looked around and did not find Xia Xingchen. Defeated. Was he teleported out directly? Gabriel immediately checked Xia Xingchen's record and found that the result of the last battle was a victory and the score was still S. Strange. Xia Xingchen obviously won the battle. He didn't even go to the lounge. Where did he go? Gabriel frowned. This was the first time he encountered such a thing. Yeah. Where is the Xingchen? Carlos was also anxious. Xia Xingchen was a hot candidate for this assessment. Not only Carlos and Gabriel, but many celestial beings noticed that Xia Xingchen suddenly stopped the assessment. What was even more bizarre was that Xia Xingchen's status changed to pass the assessment. Pass the assessment? Gabriel was even more puzzled. There are still more than a dozen battles to go. How could he pass the assessment? And Xia Xingchen's status was not to pass the preliminary assessment, but to pass all the assessments and become a celestial being? Could it be that? I'll use the authority of the Star Trek mercenary group to investigate. Gabriel's personal authority could not tell him what happened to Xia Xingchen, but using the authority of the Star Trek mercenary group, he could still find out. After a moment, Gabriel's eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, "What? Xia Xingchen was valued by a celestial race, and he used a celestial quota, and was directly promoted to a celestial. What a big deal. Directly promoted to a celestial?" Carlos was stunned. He knew the importance of the celestial quota. Only the celestial race had celestial quotas, and the price of a quota on the black market was 10 million universe coins. And there was no market for it. Even if you had money, it would be difficult to buy it. Awesome. Gabriel shook his head and smiled bitterly. This celestial race is really decisive. In order to avoid competition from other forces, it directly used a celestial quota. It can be seen that this celestial race is very optimistic about Xia Xingchen and will definitely spend a lot of resources to train him. The celestial race actually spent such a huge price? Carlos felt something was wrong. "Mr. Gabriel, can you find out which celestial race it is?" Carlos asked. "Well, we can find out that it is the Elder. I haven't heard much about this race. It should be a spiritual life form. Xia Xingchen's spiritual power is very outstanding. Maybe the Elder have taken a fancy to his spiritual power and are willing to absorb him into the race. This is a good thing," Gabriel said. "Elder." Carlos suddenly felt a chill and his face turned pale. "It is indeed the Elder. I knew that there is no such thing as a pie in the sky. The Elder don't value Xia Xingchen and want to train him. Instead, they want to kill him. That's why they paid such a huge price." "What did you say?" Gabriel's face changed, his eyes burned with anger, and his fist slammed heavily on the table. "The Elder Celestial Being actually wants to strangle my human genius. This is outrageous. Mr. Gabriel, please save Xingchen. You must save him. He is my best friend. If he dies, I will." Carlos also panicked and begged. "But the other party is a celestial race. It's not impossible to save him. You have to know that I'm a mercenary. Mercenaries have their own rules. I can only take action if someone commissions me." Gabriel frowned and said slowly, "Commission? I commission. Mr. Gabriel, I have a big handicraft shop on the transit star. I can still take out some money. As long as you can save Xia Xingchen, I'm willing to give everything." Carlos said anxiously. "Willing to give everything?" Gabriel raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Okay, I accept your commission. As for the price, I'll tell you after I rescue Xia Xingchen." In the gray space, Xia Xingchen fell in a pool of blood. His body was already riddled with holes. What a stubborn human. "You still don't say it." Zam kept helping Xia Xingchen recover, and his mental strength was almost exhausted. "If you don't say it, you can still live. If you say it, you will definitely kill me immediately." Xia Xingchen raised his head, his face was covered with blood, and his eyes were extremely stubborn. "Alive? Do you really think we dare not kill you?" Abel was furious and ordered, "Zam, execute him immediately. I'm tired of it. That crystal pyramid may not be the artifact of the ancient humans. Even if it is, we can't enter the Milky Way and grab the artifact. End it all, so as to avoid more trouble." "Yes, sir." Zam walked forward with a grim smile, his palm emitting white light, which turned into a sharp light blade and slashed towards Xia Xingchen's head. "Stop." Suddenly, a roar that shook the earth sounded in the gray space, and a tall dark red figure rushed in and punched Zam in the chest. The light blade in his hand shattered instantly, and the whole person flew backwards. Chapter 1650 Mr. Silver. Zam was knocked away by a punch and flew thousands of meters like a kite with a broken string before falling heavily to the ground. Puff. Zam spat out blood, and the white light on his body dimmed. He was seriously injured. "Zam!" Abel shouted angrily, and his figure flashed, teleporting to Zam's side. Green light surged from his palm, helping Zam recover from his injuries. "Who are you? How dare you break into the private space of our elder? Mind our elder's family affairs." Abel helped Zamp stand up and glared at the dark red giant. Star Trek mercenary group, Gabriel. Gabriel looked at Xia Xingchen lying in a pool of blood, his face very ugly. Xingchen. Carlos followed Gabriel, rushed to Xia Xingchen, helped him up, and choked up. Xingchen, are you okay? I won't die for the time being. Xia Xingchen saw that his friend was about to cry anxiously, and whispered, I made you worry. Xingchen, what are you talking about? Make me worry? Of course I'm worried. Carlos said. Star Trek mercenary group. Abel's face showed shock. The Star Trek mercenary group is one of the three major forces of the human race. Overall, its power is far greater than that of the elder celestial beings. Therefore, Abel is quite afraid of the Star Trek mercenary group. Abel looked at Gabriel and said coldly, the elder race and the Star Trek mercenary group have always kept their distance from each other. What right do you have to meddle in our affairs? Before Gabriel could answer, a cough came from behind him, and a man wearing a silver mask walked in. Mr. Yin. Mr. Yin. Abel and Gabriel immediately nodded and greeted, and they were very respectful to the person in charge of Planet High 077. Abel, you took this human away just to torture him? Mr. Yin saw the mess on the ground, and although he could not see his face, his voice was not friendly. Mr. Yin. Our elder race spent a celestial being quota to promote this human named Xia Xingchen to a celestial being and let him join our elder race. Is there anything wrong with the rules? Abel said. It is in accordance with the rules. Mr. Yin hesitated for a moment and said slowly, we, the spirit race, deal with our own celestial beings, whether it is torture, humiliation, or even killing him on the spot. You have no right to interfere. Abel continued. We really have no right to interfere. Mr. Yin was stunned, thought for a long time, and could only nod. Mr. Yin heard Gabriel say that the spirit celestial beings gave up their quota to let Xia Xingchen be promoted to a celestial being in order to kill him. Mr. Yin did not believe it at first, and he was very angry when he saw Xia Xingchen covered in blood. However, Abel's words made Mr. Yin speechless. No celestial race had ever killed an examinee at the cost of a celestial quota. This was the first time Mr. Yin encountered such a situation. The problem was that the spirit race did not break the rules of the celestial assessment, but they took advantage of a loophole. Very good. Mr. Yin has always been fair. We are all convinced. This mercenary from the Star Trek mercenary group suddenly broke into our private space and injured my people. For Mr. Yin's sake, I can let it go. But please leave here immediately. Don't delay us, the elder, from handling our housework. Abel sneered. Gabriel. This matter is indeed beyond our authority. Leave before things get out of hand. Mr. Yin looked at Gabriel helplessly. Mr. Gabriel. Carlos held the dying Xia Xingchen, his eyes full of begging. Gabriel made a gesture to Carlos, signaling him not to speak, and turned his head to look at Mr. Yin. You mean, this is the elder's business? We have no right to interfere? Exactly. Mr. Yin nodded. If Xia Xingchen has already joined the spirit race, we naturally have no control over it. However, he has clearly accepted my invitation and joined the Star Trek mercenary group. He is a reserve mercenary of my Star Trek. This matter was witnessed by many people in the lounge, and I'm not making it up. These two spirit race celestial beings, relying on their celestial quota, think they can do whatever they want? Hurt my Star Trek mercenaries? Haha, Mr. Yin, do you think I can control this matter? Gabriel looked at Mr. Yin and said in a deep voice. This is different. If Xia Xingchen is already a Star Trek mercenary, of course you can control it. Mr. Yin said immediately. What? Xia Xingchen has already joined the Star Trek mercenary group. Abel was stunned, his face full of shock. It is extremely difficult to join the Star Trek mercenary group. Xia Xingchen has just arrived at the celestial realm and has not yet become a celestial being, but he has already joined the Star Trek. How is this possible? What evidence do you have? Abel gritted his teeth and said. My words, Gabriel, are the evidence. Gabriel said domineeringly. Abel pointed at Gabriel and was so angry that he couldn't speak for a long time. What? You hurt my Zingi mercenaries, and I hurt your people, so we are even. Carlos, take Xia Xingchen away. Abel, I advise you to be honest. Any hostile behavior of yours means that the Elder and Zingi are at war. Gabriel waved his hand and said. Carlos quickly carried Xia Xingchen on his back and left the gray space. Then, Mr. Yin and Gabriel also retreated. From the slowly shrinking space entrance, you can see that Abel is trembling with anger, but he stands there motionless and can only watch Gabriel take Xia Xingchen away. What a weak and despicable race. Gabriel looked disdainful, and before the space entrance closed, he spit into the gray space. Mr. Yin, thank you very much. Gabriel thanked Mr. Yin. No, I should thank you. Fortunately, the matter did not get out of hand. Otherwise, this matter may become a big scandal of Universal Company. I hope you can keep this matter secret and never spread it. Mr. Yin said hurriedly. Of course. Gabriel said, we will not talk nonsense about this matter. As for whether the two elder will talk nonsense, I don't know. Mr. Yin said, I will also remind them. Because of my negligence in work, the human assessor Xia Xingchen was seriously injured. Universal Company will pay for his medical expenses. Moreover, he does not need to fight the remaining dozen battles and successfully passed the preliminary competition. I thank Mr. Yin on behalf of Xingchen. It was the first time that Carlos met a big man of Mr. Yin's level and was very excited. I will go to arrange a hospital for Xia Xingchen first. Mr. Yin's figure flashed and teleported away directly to arrange relevant matters. The staff of Universal Company came over immediately and took Xia Xingchen to planet 112 of Universal Universe and put him in the top ward. All medical expenses of Xia Xingchen were borne by Universal Company. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.